In the trades, your tools are everything. You can't afford them breaking down on the job. Brunt makes tools you wear, tough boots that are insanely comfortable right out of the box. We work directly with people in the trades to develop each product at the best price. Try Brunt risk-free with a 30-day on-the-job trial with free shipping and returns, and get $10 off your first order with code SXM. Go to bruntworkwear.com.
Okay. I know some of you guys are tired of the intro music. Well, if you are, just listen to it again.
Celebrate living, celebrate misery. You know that soon we're gonna die. Let's have some fun while we all die.
Sorry, that's a little bit muerto. That's a little bit muerto, and that's Spanish for death. Because you die in other countries too, in Spain, Portugal, Africa. Everywhere you go, you die, brother. And that's the crazy part. And I'm sorry to start us off like that, but that's not what's happening right now. Right now, we are in the live category. We're checking that live box. If somebody passed you a note right now, and it said, "Do you live? Yes or no?" you would check yes, because you're alive. Sorry, I know some of you guys. It's a sentence almost that you have to deal with, while some people seem to just be able to embrace it and just have joy just jumping out of their dang skin, you know, just like joy is just repelling out of their armpits and just spelunking out of their nose, you know, constantly. And some people have that natural joy. That's what I call that. That natural joy. TNJ. Not to be confused with TMJ, which is lockjaw. And lockjaw is something you could get. It was rabies' little brother. Because I grew up, a lot of people know in the rabies belt. A lot of rabies, a lot of lice, body bugs, you know. We had one fella was always scratching his neck, and they would have to, put these, almost make him like a mummy because he was scratching his neck so much because he got the body bugs. And people get different types of stuff, you know, and that's one thing that he got. But TMJ was also, I think, something like lockjaw, where you couldn't eat for a while. It was like a diet, but one that basically your central nervous system enforced a diet on you, and you couldn't open your mouth. And that was something I remember my mother told me, be careful out there because you could get lockjaw. And especially around this time of year, you know, I find that October, do you realize it's October? Do you realize you can eat candy all month long and nobody will judge you? You could be at a funeral and break out a Snicker, you know, a baby Snicker, and nobody's going to judge you heavily because that's natural, because it's that time, you know? I mean, you could just, you could crack open a pixie stick and bust a couple of rails right up your snout, you know? Like frickin', like Coca-luphagus, you know? Like Snortaluphagus, bruh. You could do a couple grams of grape pixie powder and nobody's heavily going to judge you. And that's because it's Halloween time. And Halloween I always feel is, it's the best. I mean, you could dress up like a fucking ghost and go to Burger King tomorrow, and people will just think that, you know, you're just trying to get a head start on the year. I mean, we had a girl in our neighborhood that would go trick-or-treating year-round. And some people thought she was mentally challenged, you know, maybe had a little speck of the tism on her. Because I grew up in the tism belt as well. And that's basically a lot of the South and Midwest. Tism is heavy out there. You know, tism drips heavy. It drips heavy in the genetic caverns out there. You know, it just drips off the ceiling, and every now and then a drop catches somebody, and they get caught up. Their feelings and emotions and the way that they live their life gets caught up, and that's autism. And everybody's got a little bit of it, you know, and I'm sure I had a splash hit me on the back, when I was going through the genetic caverns into the universe, and I got a touch, because I'll see a lot of times autistic kids and they flare up kind of when I come by a little. It's almost like if a dog hears something in the distance, and I'm not referring to autistic children as animals or autistic humans. I'm not doing that at all. But I'm saying that they'll have that same, you ever see like a dog, like if a dog is far away and you make a sound and the dog looks, that's a lot of time what happened with me when I get around people that have mental disabilities, because they know that the thread in me is recently removed from the quilt that they're made of, that I'm partisan to whatever they got. And I've always thought that. I've always felt a little bit on the, people say on the spectrum, but I don't want to say on the rainbow, but I say on the water slide of autism, because it's a wild ride. But happy October, guys. Happy October 1st. It's October 2nd. It's October 2nd. I'm recording this on October 1st. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope, people got into the football. We got some people that called in about that, about some of the different kneeling, a lot of the unique perspectives on it. And so we're going to rifle through some of those in a little bit. We got Ari Manis coming back in. I know people hate him. Some people love him. So we're just going to figure out, we're going to try it again, a little bit of a flow. We can see how that goes. And what else is going on in my world? Recently I'll give you a sensual update. I'm in 7 days of no masturbation, and for me that's good. And so I'm feeling pretty hopeful about that. One of my problems is a lot of times once I tell people I'm doing something, I screw it up. Like the second, I'll say that to you guys and I'll get excited. I'll get caught up in my own hope, and then it just, it's like that creates a bad recipe inside of me, that then somehow I end up, looking at masturbation or touching myself. And I don't want to be doing that anymore. I don't want to be touching myself. Why? Because I'm an adult. And I've been touched. Trust me, I've been touched enough by myself. I've given myself enough easy access to my wiener and to my body. And so I think it's time sometimes to start to cage myself up from myself and have a little bit more respect for my seed. What else, dude? Oh, I watched this show, Last Chance U. I don't know if you've seen this, but I used to work over in Mississippi. I worked on a farm over there for a couple of summers in a row, 2-3 summers. They're right on the Louisiana-Mississippi border. And this show on Netflix, Last Chance U, is about mostly African-American black boys that play football at a school called Eastern Mississippi Community College. And it really kind of captures a little bit of that slow vibe that goes on in a lot of small towns. If you get a chance, man, I heavily recommend that. It's a pretty good show. This past weekend. Yeah, that October, I remember when I was young, doing Halloween was always a special time, I remember in high school eating mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, little trip snacks, brain Mentos, basically Mentos for your soul. You pop a couple. The first time we went to get some mushrooms, I went with some kids who'd already gotten them before, and so they were fired up. And we went there, and I'd never seen as many mushrooms in my entire life, not even at a grocery. And we got probably half of a big black garbage bag full of mushrooms. And we took them to a party. And at the party, people ate them. We went inside the party, people ate them. And about an hour later, there was probably maybe 40 people at the party. An hour later, nobody was in the house, but everybody was still at the party. People were lost in the woods. People were trapped. Some people were trapped behind the swimming pool, even though there was no way to get trapped behind it because it was just a round pool. People were playing hide and go seek with themselves. 2 kids were in the bathroom and didn't know each other was in the bathroom. You could just hear people's souls just jerking off in the distance. It was like, it was just like bison were just roaming through people's souls for the first time. And then Indians were showing up and hunting them. And that's what was going on. You could feel people shifting. You could feel people shifting gears mentally and emotionally at the same time when people were bent out on them mushrooms on that Halloween. And then, now we had a lot of mushrooms, so those went on for a few days and children were eating them. And I remember dressing up like Where's Waldo, and I got in a powdered sugar fight with a couple of people who I didn't know. Which is fun at first, but anytime you're fighting with condiments, fun at first, violent at the end. You know what I'm saying? Crack open a packet of mustard on somebody. It's cute for about 40 seconds, and then shit escalates. And next thing you know, you're trying to fucking hide chunks of relish in people's tear ducts and shit, and that's when shit escalates. But I remember a buddy of mine, this kid Todd, drank some gasoline, high on mushrooms. He was jacked up on something. And he fucked up at the service station. Time Saver. The service station by us used to be called Time Saver because I guess they assumed that if you stopped there, you were going to save you a couple extra seconds. But old Todd, he really earned himself a couple of extra seconds in the hospital, days even, from drinking the gasoline. But yeah, I had good times on Halloween. I was Where's Waldo one time. I was Peppermint Pat. Another time I got jacked up on some type of uppers, and I was Peppermint Pat for Halloween. And it's really basically you take some long johns that are the pants, and you take the long john shirts, which is just kind of the same material as the pants, but it's a shirt, and you sew peppermints to it. Just tie the peppermints, all over it. Get you a little hat, like a little beanie hat, hook a few peppermints onto that, and suddenly you get a cane, like a cane for a grandparent, and you paint it red and white stripes, and suddenly you fucking Peppermint Pat, and it's not even a character, but it is a character, and people are like, who are you? And it's like, I'm Peppermint Pat. You know what I'm saying? Let me hide a little bit of this mint up in that ass, you feel me? Let me breath freshen that crotch, you feel me? So that was another costume that I had. I remember this story, man. This is the first time that I knew. When I was young, my father lived with us, and my father was really old, and so we would go trick-or-treating, and my mother would take us. And my mother had worked all day, and so she got home, and she was a lot of time frustrated, and my dad would stay home. Excuse me, I'm going to have to clear my throat. A lot of times you hear me clear my throat, you hear me, I make that sound because I got a big lip. I got that, what is it? I got that sashimi, that tuna sashimi for the bottom lip. And so a lot of water and a lot of coagulates bunch up down there in the bottom of my lip. I'm kind of Bubba Gumping down there. And so, a lot of time water build up right there. And I'd probably make a pearl if you gave me enough time. I'd probably make a pearl in my mouth. I bet when I die, if the last person who comes by my body just pulls my lip down, they might find them a beautiful, geological treat right there. And that's going to be a pearl because I got them coagulates. My mouth kind of flows into this place where there's no way for the water to escape. So anyway, that's what I'm going on. If you hear me making sounds, that's the sounds I'm making. Because people sometimes will call in or email. Some guy emailed one time, I can't listen to the podcast anymore. He's always drinking your own spit. That's what he accused me of doing, drinking my own spit. What are you talking about, dude? Like I'm an orphan in the Sahara? What do you mean drinking my own spit, dude? I'm not going to drown, bruh. I'm not going to drown so you can have an easily listening atmosphere. So every time you hear me making that sound, know I'm surviving. Okay? That I want to be at other stages of my life. I'm not going to have my brother be at my funeral and say, oh, my brother drowned out because he didn't want to swallow his spit. Because he had shame about it. I'm sorry. Different people make different sounds. Go put your ear up to your stepmother. I bet she sounds like a piece of shit. Maybe. Some people's stepmoms are decent. Anyhow, onward. So I remember we had Halloween, and my father would stay home, and my father was old. That time he was 76 years old, maybe 75. And my mother would take us trick-or-treating. And I didn't realize at that time yet that my father was old. I knew that he was like physically slower, but I guess I didn't realize, I didn't really realize how he saw me. I didn't realize how he envisioned me or looked at me or if he did any differently because of his age. And I remember we went trick-or-treating with my mom, and my brother and I got in a fight. So we were Raggedy Ann and Andy. And both of us, we both started out as Andy, and then my brother beat my ass enough where I kind of looked more like a Raggedy Ann. And not, just my eye paint had gone out, my hair was sprayed out, and my Raggedy Ann outfit was all busted up, looked more like a dress. So at that time, I was showing up back at my door like a real bitch, you feel me? And so we get back to our house, we go on trick-or-treating, and we had a pretty decent time. And it was my mother with the 4 children, my sister in a stroller. And we get back there, and my brother and I run up to the door. And my father came to the door, and he looked at us. And he got the candy bowl and just said, take what you want, And that's when he didn't realize it was us. He didn't realize it was his own children. And that was like the first moment that, like, I guess I realized that maybe my dad just couldn't relate to me that well, even just because of his age. Like, he just didn't, maybe dads forget. I mean, my dad had just seen me, an hour earlier when I left, my brother and I wearing our costumes and stuff. But I remember getting back to the door, and he didn't know it was us. And I just remember feeling this disconnect immediately. It wasn't like a feeling of pain, but it was this feeling immediately where I understood where we were in relation to each other. Like, I knew immediately there was this divide where he just didn't, there may be, like, he could confuse me with other kids, that, he didn't remember things that well, that there was just this, immediately there was this element that, and probably at that age too, that, he didn't recognize me, there was probably a lot of fear that set in, like, internally then, this feeling that, maybe he couldn't protect me or something if he didn't know I was his own. There might have been some, nocturnal, animalistic vibes going on. But that was one moment that it really shook me, and I was like, wow, my dad he's old. He doesn't know that my brother and I standing here, who don't have masks on, who have, like headbands that have like yarn and stuff and are looking a certain way, that he doesn't realize that we're his sons. And that was kind of a wild moment for me, not to bring down the town. I'm not trying to drown the town here in inner salt water. I'm not trying to, put the saline in your eye holes, but yeah, it just reminded me of that was another thing that happened at Halloween. Well, let me think of some other Halloweens that I went to. They had this. My mother had a station wagon, and a station wagon was something that it was like a van, but for straight up real ass moms. It was like a SUV. It was like the original SUV. Like, now they got these SUVs with all this room and this and that. The station wagon, that thing was like 50 feet long. Like, your mom could be driving and you could be so far in the back that you were a couple minutes behind her in time. Like, if you'd have asked your mother what time it was, she would have said 11:44. And if somebody would have asked you what time it was, you'd have said 11:41, because you were living in the past. That back seat was so far. And man, it was fun in that station wagon, you know. You could talk all the smack that your mother could never reach you. These SUVs, they got reachable children in them. You could catch an ass whooping if your mother got long arms, if your mother's Nigerian, you know. If your mother's from Kenya, you might get your ass beat, even if you're just sitting into the back. But with that station wagon, man, your mother could put you in there. You could be back there so long you could start a family, you know. She opened the door. Next time she opens the door, you pop out with a husband and just freshly back a tan because you just got back from your honeymoon. It was that kind of thing, man. Felt like you were back there forever in your own universe. And I loved my mother's station wagon. But on Halloween, she would put the tailgate down, and we'd get a couple of local kids, and we would stand on the back of the tailgate and hold on to this bar. The tailgate was down. We'd stand on that and hold on to this bar that was at the top of the station wagon. And my mother would drive. She'd take us to the nice neighborhoods so you could get that candy, you know? Because rich people had the candy. I mean, you showed up at some poor people's house, people, you know, I remember this one dude, what was that guy's name? Cutman, Mr. Cutman. He would blow weed smoke in your face and blow drug smoke at you. And that was his big Halloween thing. So when we were young, we didn't get into that much. But as we got a little bit older, it was fun to hit his door because he'd crack that door and just blow you a hit of that dope smoke at you. You know, trick or treat, boy. That shit was trick or trauma, dude. One year, that shit hit me right in the nostrils, dude. And I was bent out. You know, I was bent out. Boy, I was ghosting, dude. I had Goonies in my head, bruh. Hey, you thoughts. I had Goonies in my head, man. But that was a good time, I remember. And so anyway, we'd be on the station wagon, and that tailgate would be down. My mother would be cruising. And the fun thing to do when you saw that open yard coming up was to run and jump off like we were in the Air Force, you know, 101st Airborne Division. And no offense if I'm getting that wrong. I don't want to offend anybody or in that sense, but you get what I'm saying. We'd run and jump right off that tailgate and all right, you know, somebody throw my sister off, you know, and everybody just hitting the grass, and then everybody would get up and make sure they had all their candy. Half the candy roll out into the yard, but it was dark, you didn't know. You'd get your bag and run to the door. Then you'd hit a string of houses and then get back on the tailgate and off around to the next street. You know, mother would go around and we'd jump off, you know. So this one boy, man, one time we're going, man, and my buddy Danny, and I've talked about him before, and he, you know, very slender neck. I mean, his neck, if it was made out of anything, it was turkey bacon. And so he was long, you know, and long people, they're out there. You're more likely to catch a cold. My dad always told me you're more likely to catch a cold when you're long because there's more of you. You know, if I'm only 20 inches tall, there's only 20 inches of me where a cold can land. But if I'm 27 inches tall, I'm a little longer, then those molecules or those, you know, those viral antibodies or bodies that are floating around, they can land. There's more room for them to land, you know. Like I'm telling you, it's easier to land on Saturn than it is on Pluto because there's more space. That's what I'm saying. So my boy Danny was long. And he went running off, and we were, we're jumping off that tailgate, hitting the yard, you know, rolling over, running up. And Danny goes running, dude, jumped, and literally landed right onto a fire hydrant that was in somebody's yard, man. And I heard a sound come out of that boy. It didn't come out of his voice box. It was almost like his bone marrow just let out a fucking shriek. Like his bone marrow let out a shriek. And that's when I knew that nighttime was dangerous, man, and that the devil lurked sometimes on Halloween. He was never the same. He was never the same before that. But he was double never the same. After he just jumped sheer darkness and just caught that fire hydrant just to the whole neck and body, you know. And the crazy thing is you could pop that hydrant open and run water across him forever and he would never get back to normal. But it is fall, it is autumn, and happy Halloween to you guys. We're going to be right back. Just a second. I got Ari Madison's studio. I got just a new way we're going to use them. I got a plan. Bear with me. We got a few calls that came in about the NFL. We got a guy who's got some pubic hair reconfiguration something. And we got a couple more things. We'll be right back. Just give me 1 second because somebody just rang the doorbell. I got to see who it is. All right. But yeah, it's that time of year. It's the time of year where things are fresh. October, I think, is a great month to rattle off the things you want to get done that have been plaguing you all year. Set a few goals. Knock them out before turkey time and before Christmas. Because if you put stick your neck out a little. Now stick it out a little bit further. What do you hear? I'll tell you what you fucking hear, boy and girl. You hear a turkey with a jingle bell around his neck. And that's holidays coming fast, dude. And if you don't think the holidays are coming fast, go outside. Bend over. And I'll tell you this, before you know what's going on, you will have a damn pilgrim with a fucking sack full of new toys hiding in your ass. Because that's what I'm telling you, the holidays are coming quick. And we got a great episode for you guys, man. I'm excited. I didn't have that crazy of a weekend, so I'm just going to kind of leave that right there. You know, I spent some time. I go to therapy on Monday, so I'm ready to spend some time with my therapist. I'm trying to get, through tonight's episode so that I can get some rest and be prepared. Sometimes I go to this therapy session, I'm not prepared, but I go to adult therapy for males because I ain't no wuss. And if you're having problems, you feeling some emasculation issues, I want you to hit the hotline, 985-664-9503. I want you to hit the hotline with some of the ways that you're feeling as a man. If you're having a tough time being a man, it could be in any facet. Hit the hotline. You don't even need to leave your name if you don't want to, but just make sure your story's real. We got some great calls that came in. We got a couple of people calling about taking a knee, the NFL. We got a couple of amazing perspectives on that. We're talking about why we don't have camels in America. We're talking about a follow-up call from a gentleman who, we talked about it last week about what would be the price be that you would let your loved one get out there and do sex with a stranger, an expensive stranger, a stranger that's got some money, the rich. How much would you just let the rich just plow into your loved one? And we got a call that came in about that. We got some great calls. A man got hair transplants from a place you probably wouldn't even expect. And you heard the doorbell a little bit ago. That's going to be Ari Manis is going to be back here, and he's going to be in studio. But the time when he's not in here, he's not in here. This is our time. And this isn't the time that I share with him. This is our time. And the time when I tell you he's not in here, he's not in here. So I just want that to be known. A couple of other things before we move on in the program. I want to let you know that I am headlining the Hollywood Improv October 10th at 8 p.m. We can do about 45 minutes. Hot new material, cool stuff. You're going to love it. You can find those tickets on my website, theovon.com. As well, I got the Hampton Ain't Easy. The tour shirts are available now at theovon.com/store. And those have all the tour dates on it from this past year. It's kind of a neat shirt. It's a few dollars pricier because I had to get a couple extra colors put on it. But it's a cool shirt, man. And I think it's nice to have. If you want to get that, you can go get it. It has every city that I performed in this past year. And what else? Oh, I got a new series that's going to be, that we're working on a pilot for Comedy Central. So I'm excited about that. There's no money in it yet, but it's going to be a neat opportunity. And it's all a little bit based on this podcast, so that's kind of exciting. But I just want to thank you guys for being here with me today. Happy Monday, or whatever day it is this week you're listening. And we're going to be right back. We're going to have Ari Manis in studio. We're going to check on him briefly, hit a couple of news topics, and then you and I are going to get back to some of your calls. I'll be right back. This past weekend. All right, and that is everything that you need to know. Also, if you want to support the Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/Theo Von, TheoVon. Options on there to donate. Thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. I really appreciate it, allowing me to get a new camera. And eventually the goal is to come out with a Thursday episode that better reflects responses from Monday's episode. But with that said, here's a couple of thoughts.
About Ari, I'd say keep him on. He seems like a good dude. The one thing I would say, though, is just maybe have him be a little bit funnier.
Hey, Theo, this is Ivan. Love your show. As far as Ari is concerned, for someone that you want to have with you all the time, just pick someone that you enjoy being around and someone who's professional.
Be a little bit funnier.
And someone who's professional.
Be a little bit funnier.
I don't know why that did that.
You did that. You edited that.
I would never do that.
You did do that. You're lying.
No,
you're lying to me, and you're lying to all your fans.
There's a glitch, I think.
That was not a glitch.
Okay, fine. There wasn't a glitch, man. Those are two comments that just there's a couple of calls that I got in, and I didn't.
You said we weren't going to bring up comments again. You said we were just going to skip past that and just go into the podcast. You said we're not going to talk about it anymore.
We weren't.
But then you just played it.
Yeah, it's on the play sheet.
Yeah, but you said to me before, I said, hey, are we going to keep going over the negative comments, or are we just going to move on? And you said, oh, yeah, no, we're past that.
We are past it.
And then you just brought it up again.
But I wanted to make sure you're past it.
I was until you just brought it up again. Now I'm back in it. I mean, the funnier thing, fine. Comedy's subjective.
Yes.
That guy didn't think I was funny. Some guys didn't.
Well, that guy,
Some people did. Some people didn't. The professional thing, first off, I feel like I'm a professional. And then secondly, you making that little mixtape. That's a mixtape. You made an Ari hate mixtape.
Okay, that's
my friend, Theo Von, made an Ari hate mixtape.
It's not a hit. It's a remix of a couple of albums.
Okay, a remix. You made an Ari hate remix.
Okay.
Which makes me think that you think I'm unprofessional.
No.
Do you think I'm unprofessional?
Not at all. That's why I was going to if you'd let me gather my thoughts a little bit, I was going to contradict what some of these guys were saying.
I don't think you were.
Really?
No.
What do you think? I was going to let you just drown out there in the dirty water?
You're just letting me out here to drown. That's okay. No. I guess that's what people want these days for entertainment.
No, I mean, look, it's very Rome. It's very Rome these days in the podcast world. They want to see you get killed by a lion or fight 1,000 squirrels. There were some men that if they didn't have a lion, they would get thousands of squirrels to fight men. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's crazy too.
You're not pulling that out of something you think might be true?
No, not at all. It's a real thing.
All right. Cool.
Well, here he is, guys. Ari Manis right here. And what I want to say is what's going on in Ari's world. I just want to do a check-in with Ari. So,
life's good. Me and my girlfriend, we made up.
Yeah. Last we checked, you guys had just made love after the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, we had gotten back together at the Grand Canyon. Things were a little shaky. I think we're on good terms. Mm-hmm. We went to San Diego together.
Oh, that's cool. What was the occasion?
Past weekend. It was my younger brother Jonah's birthday, and I lined up some shows as well. So I was doing some comedy and was going to visit my 17-year-old. I'm 18 now. He just turned 18. And so we celebrated by going to the whorehouse in Tijuana, Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, the Hong Kong. You ever been there?
I've never been there.
Well,
Did you take Jonah?
No. Jonah stayed behind, even though he is allowed to go. Now he's 18. In Mexico, 18, you're allowed to fuck whores.
Oh, you're allowed to get murdered at 7 or 8.
You're allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
But no, this was just me, my girlfriend, and one of my buddies, another comedian who was on the show.
Okay.
And so we went, and I've been there 4 or 5 times now. I love the place. You just go there, $80. You could just have your way with a woman of your choice.
Wow. And now, do you feel any emotional repercussions from that? Do you walk out of there feeling like, this isn't good for me, or this isn't good for my psyche, or something like that? Or you just feel,
honestly, the first time I walked out of there,
yeah,
I felt it was cool. It was like, I can't believe this place exists.
yeah,
Because, prostitution here exists, but it's this really shady,
yeah, it's
internet,
secretive.
secret, grimy, dangerous, maybe.
Yeah, it's like you gotta
field.
hide in a recycling bin and just wait till some kind of,
Yeah, there's you
pussy
tiptoe
wanders
around
by,
it.
yes.
They're not called prostitutes, they're called escorts. There's all these rules.
Yeah.
And they do a background check. Here, it's this legal establishment. Nice establishment, in fact.
Now, when you
clean.
walk in, what is it like? Is it like a CVS? Is it like a Ready-Med? Is it like a 24-hour medical center? Like, what vibe is it?
It's kind of just like the nicest strip club I've ever been to. I've only been to a couple strip clubs in the U.S.
And is it well lit? How's the lighting in there?
It's lit kind of like a bar, so it's not super bright, but it's not dark. You could definitely see around. There's $4 beers. There's 3 stories. There's jacuzzis. There's stripper poles. There's women. There's people drinking. There's parties, bachelor parties, friends hanging out at tables, drinking beers. And so you walk in there, and there's just all these women lined up and down the place. Probably, I'd say, over 100.
Can you smell crotch in the air when you walk in there? Honestly, be honest. You don't have to.
You don't smell crotch. What you smell is
Cleaner?
Yeah, cleaning products. And it's I forget the name of it, but there's.
Is it scented in any way, like orange cleaner products, or is it just basic cleaning?
I think it's
government type of cleaning.
I think
products?
it's basic Mexican government cleaning products.
Okay,
because
it's
it smells a
lime or
little
something.
different than the cleaning
Limon,
products here.
Yeah.
It smells like 99-cent store cleaning product.
Right. So it smells like you're just
lower end cleaning product.
Right. Maybe the cleaning products aren't as good, but the people who are doing the cleaning work harder.
Yeah, they work good. It felt clean.
Right.
And there was no part of me while I was there that was thinking this place is gross.
Because in America, you get a $3 Windex or Shine-X or whatever. It's $3, but the person doing the work's putting in $1 worth of effort.
That's right.
But down in Mexico, you get $1 worth of product.
Yeah.
But you get $3 worth of effort.
I think I never thought about that, and you're spot on with that. So you go in there and you do it, and I've been there 3 or 4 times.
Now, were you nervous when you walk in? Because I would be extremely nervous in there.
I was only nervous this time because I'm with my girlfriend now.
Okay.
And she says she's cool with it. She's like, I don't care. They're just prostitutes. They're not cheating on me if we go here. She was thinking she would get into it. She goes, I'd be down to watch you have sex with a prostitute.
Wow.
And I think that could be, kind of hot and fun.
Yeah.
So we go
very,
in there.
that's very Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. And that's swinger country if you never spent time on
Yeah,
Lake
I
of
didn't
the
know
Ozarks.
what you were referring to.
Oh, yeah. There's a good, I wandered into a swingers weekend up there one time on accident.
Yeah, did you partake?
No, I couldn't do anything. I could watch the bingo that they played, and then I wasn't supposed to get in the elevator from like 11 to 1 a.m. because it was basically just like a fuck trolley just going up and down the building. But I did press the button one time and the doors opened, and there was just a brother in there just putting down the hammer on some older white women. But anyway, go on.
So we go in there. She's drinking a little bit more than me.
Okay.
She gets sauced up, which made me think she's uncomfortable.
But yeah.
And that made me a little uncomfortable. And I kind of just got this vibe that she was just pretending to be into this whole experience.
Your girlfriend?
To be cool. Yeah, to be the cool girlfriend.
Of course.
That is letting me have sex with a prostitute. So I didn't end up doing it.
Yeah.
I ended up not partaking.
Did it feel like a gang? Like, because at that point, when you say that, the cool girlfriend that's letting me have sex with a prostitute, that makes me think like gang. Like somebody that's in a gang, like
No.
Latin
Like she's in a
Kings.
gang?
No, like you, this is all some type of gang type of. That seems like something that happens in gangs. Like I'm gonna bang your friend. You stay here. You have this snack or something, and I'm gonna bang your friend. Like
Sounds like you know more about gangs than I do.
but there's like initiation
Yeah.
type stuff, and the girls probably play along with stuff to seem cool and comfortable.
Yeah, it just felt like maybe because we were on weird terms from our last fight, and she wanted to be like,
who takes their
make it
girlfriend
up.
to the gets in a fight at the Grand Canyon, and to make up for it, takes them down to a hooker house in Tijuana.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. I've talked about hookers on stage. Sometimes she knows I had been there. I'm open about my life. And
Did anybody there know you when you got there?
no, but I did actually see one of the prostitutes I had prior experiences with, but she did not remember me at all. or seemed
Really?
to notice me.
And did you tell your girlfriend you've been with that woman?
I did.
Wow.
I said I got that one last time. And she was like, "Oh, cool." And I don't think that bothered her. We're fine from this whole experience. Nothing affected our relationship from this. I think mainly, though, because I was keen enough and I picked up on the fact that she didn't really want me to do it, and she didn't really want to see that, and I felt that. So because I'm a gentleman and because I care about her, I decided, hey, I don't want to. I said, I don't really want to do this. I said, you're prettier than all these girls. You're much more beautiful, which is true. She is prettier than all those girls.
Yeah, she's a pretty lady.
And I said, we don't need to do this. We got some delicious street tacos right outside a Mexican taco truck there. And
right outside?
Yeah, right outside the whorehouse. There's this taco truck. We got a whole plate of tacos for $4.
Together?
Together, we pigged out. It was delicious.
Wow.
And then we got back to my parents' house 4 a.m., crashed out on the air mattress, woke up, drove back here.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
It's almost like a modern day Romeo and Juliet. You know?
Yeah, except better.
Interesting. Ari Manis. Well, I appreciate that check-in, man. I appreciate you letting us know what's going on.
Yeah.
Why don't you lead us into a couple of news categories?
All right. First category, speaking of, sex, semen-contaminated flutes might have been given to children. So the California school officials warn that several school districts in Southern California, they were flute donation, musical donation from this man, I guess, who started an organization called Flutes Across the World. Mm-hmm. And now they think that the flutes he donated in, he also jerked off onto and then gave them to kids.
Wow. I mean, that's... how are they going to know?
It said in the story they don't know how this came, how they found out, but someone found out.
But there's semen everywhere. Like, it's like when you walk into a motel or a hotel or an abandoned building, you know, when you find a stray dog, you know, like you could go look on the YouTube, man. There's people out there spending way inaccurate time with animals, you know. It's like there's semen on everything. We're made out of semen. When you think about it.
We're from it.
Everybody wants to walk around and act like, you know, it's this taboo product. You know, like it's something that people are, you know, secretly bussing in from China or something, or from Korea. We're semen. You are semen, dude.
I agree with what you're saying, 100%.
So a little on a flute
but
from some kid who's even more recently of seed than us. I just, who are they going to say did it? I'm sure they'll probably say Trump did it.
No,
next.
they're saying the guy who donated the flutes did it. But
was
what
also
I'm
doing
saying,
seed. Well, you know what? That doesn't surprise me. A guy that has a bunch of flutes, yeah, seems like a guy that probably is jerking off on the stuff. First of all, if you know anybody that has more than one flute, I'd phone them in right now, bro. And the number to call for that is 911.
I say you get what you pay for. They took these free flutes.
Yeah.
They're free flutes.
Yeah.
You can't be complaining about, if you don't want semen on your flutes, then buy brand new flutes on Amazon. But if you're going to take these donated flutes, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, that's the thing. You want a handful of free marbles, dude? If they smell like the inside of my ass, you know what? That's life, dude, and that's God's plan for us right now. All right.
That's the news, man.
Speaking of that, that's the news. Let's get into one call right here while we got Ari Manis in studio. Here we go. And the number is 985-664-9503. You can always hit the hotline with any thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions. Let's tap into this right here.
What up, dude? The name's Jeff Toy.
Jep Toy. Asian? Jep Toy?
You're thinking of Joe Coy.
From Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. Just wanted to let you know that I, too, had a hair removal procedure.
This is in response to the hair transplant that I got almost 14 days ago.
I kid you not, man, but it wasn't on my dome. It was on my face. So, you know, I have a hard time growing a beard. I got that engine in me.
And that means Native American. I don't think he's talking about Hemi. But he, and I know what he's talking about, actually. There's part on my throat, it's almost like a choke mark where I swear my mother choked me when I was young that will not grow hair.
Yeah, I can't grow a full beard.
Yeah, so that thing is way shoddy, dude.
Okay, well, no,
that's actually
keep bringing me down.
My bad, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't look that bad.
It looks like scruff. Some chicks like that.
Yeah, it looks like you've been kind of living in New York, but outdoors.
Yeah.
In my family, and so I can't grow a lot of facial hair.
Okay, guy. Well, let's get to it.
So, you know, if you grow like a chin beard or a neck beard, you know, the hairs are a little greasy. Chin beard and neck beard look a lot like pubes. They do. And so I'm actually going through the procedure right now of getting some pubes, because I got plenty of those, transported to my face. Now, I'm a little worried, though, and I asked for your prayer request. Just want to let you know that you're not alone in this, and God bless you.
Wow. He took it to the Lord at the end. And I've been at Halloween before where we needed beards and stuff, and we would cut off pubes and each other's pubes because some people had better stock, and use that to make our beards and mustaches for Halloween, outfits. What do you think about this, Guy? What do you think about this, Ari, about getting that transplant?
If this is real, to me that sounds like a prank phone call.
Really?
But
I thought about it. I don't think it does.
So you think it's real. So if he's really getting his pubes to his neck, he's transplanting his pubes and moving them to his neck, I think there's a bigger issue. Why is he so insecure about not being able to grow a beard?
Right.
Just shave your face. Just don't be a beard guy. Just be a shaven man.
You know? I mean, it's just an old prison trick. Like, in prison, a lot of times, if you read a lot of these old, like, prison diaries and stuff, and you can get a lot of these on the deep web, which is just like they've digitized prison diaries, and you can read about the things they did at Halloween. And a lot of the things they did was use different types of body stuff that they had, even dandruff that they would collect all year, to make different types of costumes and stuff like that, you know. So It's pretty interesting to hear, you know. Like a guy would be like, Tony Montana, but it would be like, 4 or 5, 6 people's dandruff that he would use to make the cocaine stream coming out of his face. You know, and it's almost spookier that way. You know, when you leave the house with 4 people's dandruff glued to your cheek.
Yeah, that's scary as shit.
And your cousin, and a pubic mustache made out of that your cousin grew for you. You know, that's Rochester, New York, right there.
Be a little bit funnier.
Oh, this is broken again.
It's not broken. Okay.
Be a little bit funnier.
God.
Yeah,
all right.
I guess I forgive you. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
You bet. Ari Manis, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be right back in just a second with, we're going to get into the rest of these calls. We got some great ones. This past weekend. Okay, and we are back with Ari Manis is out of here. I think we're just going to continue to try this for another week at least, see how it fits with Ari. I liked him, I like checking in with his life to see what's going on, and I like having a couple of news segments that I don't have to think about and prepare, so it can be kind of fresh to me. But let's get into some of your calls. We had a lot of great calls about the NFL. And a lot of great calls about the sitting, taking a knee, the national anthem issues, and I thought a little bit more about it over this past week, and I think everybody did, because it's something that's that's in the air, and certainly in the past few years I found myself thinking a lot more like, what are my thoughts innately and feelings innately towards people that are different than me? Where do I stand? What do I think? What do I feel? I find myself doing that more, and I think that that's great. Awareness is eventually key in every aspect of your life. But what I'm also noticing is, and hearing about, that the take a knee thing was very vague. It was like, okay, well, we're upset at racial injustice. Then we're upset at Trump. And then we're like, it's a police brutality. It was like, well, what's it for? I understand it's for different things, but it was just, this is the first year that I really felt like it was, it just seemed, because it almost started to make it so that the awareness stuff is starting to lose some of its effect. That's what I felt like. Because every week and every day, if you keep saying, "Oh, this is about awareness. This batch of cupcakes is about Black Lives Matter. This casserole is for DACA repeal." It gets to be overwhelming, so that nothing is for anything. Because if you're saying that everything is something, then nothing is for anything. It's like it just wears it out, and I think people are starting to get worn out. And I've noticed from different friends of mine that there seems to be this vibe that people are just tired of hearing constantly about blame. If you want to blame white people forever about the issues of the world, then you can start in Britain. The humanity's civilization apparently began in Africa and Egypt, I think. So if you want to go all the way back to there, keep on going. We can keep cruising through the history books. And you want to blame it on 2 organisms in a desert that got hit by lightning? Or you want to blame it on 2 monkeys that met in the woods? Or you want to blame it on Adam and Eve? I mean, at a certain point, you're just going to at a certain point, we just have to look at where we are. And we have to look at what role we are also currently playing in our own problems. Because that's some of the issue that I start to have personally is, well, yeah, I know that there's issues in America where there are racial injustices. I know that some people don't have as good of opportunities as other people. I know those things. I think that most people want to fix them, but and are happy to find ways to do that. But if someone just constantly just yells, everything is wrong, at a certain point, they're not helping, I don't feel like. They're not helping to be part of the solution. So I guess I'm just trying to be a little bit more solution-oriented. And also, what role do you play in your own problems? Yes, there's tons of problems in the Black community, but there's also some of those problems are problems that the Black community needs to help solve needs to at least work together with other people to solve for themselves. Not everything is white people's fault. If you are, and I hate to use black and white just as the only example, but that's just like the biggest example that's going on right now. But I just hate to see activism get diluted by being overused. And maybe that's naive of me to think that that's not even possible. And I'm open, if that's the case, then I'm open to be corrected there. But I just hate to see, it's not like the boy who cried wolf. It's just like the wolf keeps crying boy. It's like the wolf just says, boy, 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 boy. And there's never any real communication between the boy and the wolf. It's just the wolf keeps yelling boy. And at a certain point, it's like you can't hear the wolf yelling boy anymore, because they just won't stop yelling it. And you think that the wolf may have autism. And that's how we came back full circle on autism. And people say, well, Theo, you can't talk about autism. Guess what? If I show up on the spectrum, then I can. And if you want to put me to a test, I'll take it any day of the week, dude. You can blindfold me and put both my hands under a baby's ass and put a number 2 pencil in my mouth, and I'll fucking take that test with my tongue. And you'd be like, well, I don't know if you have autism. Well, only an autistic person could do that. So check yourself. Let's get to some of your thoughts and feelings right here. Here we go. On the NFL Take a Knee.
You were talking about taking a knee for the anthem during football games. Now, I don't really see what taking a knee during a football game has anything to do with police brutality, so I don't really see the connection of the protest. However, as far as what my opinion is on them actually taking a knee. I think as a country, we shouldn't demand patriotism from people.
Oh, it's interesting. Interesting thought. Like, yeah, patriotism, you can't demand that out of somebody that they care about America. That's true. To me, that feels unfortunate that they don't, but it feels true that we shouldn't be able to demand it. Onward.
Demanding patriotism from people is the sort of thing that the Nazis and the Soviets used to do. Now, if somebody feels a general dissatisfaction with their nation and doesn't think that their nation deserves patriotism from them, then I kind of support their right to do that. However, at the same time, I kind of think the whole kneeling for the anthem thing doesn't really send the message of a protest against police brutality. Okay? And I love the podcast.
Yeah, it just seemed a little vague. It seemed a little vague as to what was going on and what was happening. But yeah, you can't demand patriotism. I mean, he's right. That's how a lot of, evility gets started in the world. You would hope that people have it, but I guess we're just in such a diverse and different and a time now where some people have it and some people don't. Maybe America's such a melting pot now where a lot of places you don't see that much patriotism. I'll be honest, here in Los Angeles, I don't see it very much. I can go seek it out. On Veterans Day, I can go to the cemetery, or on the 4th of July, I can go to an event. But otherwise, you don't see a lot of American flags here in Los Angeles. I think maybe some places are just so diverse, where some people, they don't care about America first even. I mean, I think some people do, but there's also a vibe in some places where they don't, and that's okay. Some people look at America almost as like an airport, it seems like, for the rest of the world, where you can come here and you can live here and you can shop here and you can get a hotel here and stay here, and then you can go back on to wherever you care about more. I think that's a vibe in some places, but I think you just have to find a place then that reflects a little bit more of what you desire, because then you can live in a reality that is a little more comfortable for you. I think you still should recognize that there are these other realities out there, though. But I don't think there's anything wrong with living in one where you think you're best suited for. All right, let's go on to another call here.
Theo, hey, it's Logan. Doing some weird stuff down here.
Okay, Logan, thank you for calling. Doing some weird stuff down here. I don't know what that is, but I appreciate you checking in with us. Onward.
So you were asking about comments about the kneeling, and I thought I might try a different angle, see what you had to say. So a lot of times people want to, it seems America is mostly about convenience.
About convenience, he's saying. Go ahead.
So, like, you don't see people standing up at the bar when the national anthem comes on. You don't see people standing up at home when the national anthem comes on. I'm not necessarily going to comment on the exact kneeling, aside from I don't really disagree with it. I'm kind of in the neutral zone. Can't really do much harm. It's up to the owners. I mean, it's up to the owners and the advertisers. It's not my fight. They're using their field.
Okay, so he's saying that these players, if their owners are allowing them, the team owners are allowing them to do that, then, and that's where they want to use their stance to show uniformity and take a knee, then that's where they can do it. That it's up to the owners. And in the end, that's really true. I think if a lot of those owners started saying, you're not going to get a paycheck, I wonder how those people would adjust. Because there's a lot of people in Los Angeles who, were probably afraid to say that they were Trump supporters or were voting for Trump because afraid they would lose their jobs. Or in most of America or in different places, and vice versa. I'm sure there were a lot of people in other places that were afraid to say that they were Hillary supporters or they would lose their jobs. And that's unfortunate. I think that we're at a point where people, don't want to or can't, that we can't even be open to other people's perspectives and ideas. I think if it's a dangerous perspective or idea, we can totally not accept it. But I think you still have to find ways to be able to hear it and to be open to it, because you might learn, you might change your mind. And change, I think, is always good. Even if you just change your mind a little bit and take a little piece of what they know or their perspective. I'm grateful right here because I'm thinking about some different perspectives because you guys are calling in with them. But that's true. He's also saying, like, how big of people at bars aren't standing up and doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Could you imagine that if everybody in a bar? Now, in some countries, they may. I feel like if you get to some of these other countries, you're at an Irish bar or something and it's a soccer game, that they might really get down and put that hand on the chest. But I don't think that they're doing that here in America. But then that's part of the being at the game. It's like when you're at the event, that's where people do it. But I'm also thinking, like, I'm feeling that even after a week or so of this going on, that people are starting to lose. They almost just don't care what these players do, and not because they're black or not because they're white or because they're Latino. And it's only a few Asian players, I believe, but just because they're just. It's getting hack. It's getting old. It's getting old without us having more of a direction for solution. And I think that it's getting old just pointing fingers and not pointing the finger also at oneself to figure out how can we better, how can we better achieve the successes that we want in America. All right, let's grab another call on Take a Knee. Here we go.
Hey, Theo, this is Brant from Tacoma, Washington.
Hey, Brant, I appreciate you calling, brother. Tacoma. Now, that is outside of Seattle, probably about maybe 15 miles, and that is a little bit of cowboy country. And if you like pine trees and evergreens and cowboys at the same time, you can get that in Tacoma. Now, sometimes people think of Seattle, that's fish country. And that's up there. People, they got men even breastfeeding children and people shaving their chest hair and making wallets out of them and all that kind of stuff. A bunch of dream catcher addicts and people, eating homemade cinnamon made out of their own, skin flakes and flavors out of nature. But if you get outside of Seattle, not even far, Tacoma is a little more cowboy country. So they might have fish out there, but they call it water cattle. That's what they call fish over there in Tacoma. They call it water cattle because that's the livestock of that salty H2O. All right, onward.
I have a comment about the NFL players kneeling before the game for the anthem. I think it's definitely another issue where the media is having another tool to exploit division in America. I think there's a lot of that going on right now. You can see it in the local news. You'll get some polls of people that are going to boycott teams, and half of them are saying they're going to boycott the season and the team, and half of them say that they aren't.
And that's a good point. Like, the media doesn't even, if you notice with these polls now, it's half and half. A lot of the polls, it's always half and half. Really? That's striking. Because if they can keep it half and half, then they can keep it, then they can make it seem divided. And that's just interesting, man. It used to be a poll was a real poll. And not since the election have I trusted any polls. I don't care who the poll is from. Because the problem is the people taking the polls and the people running the polling companies, the friends or the whoever they're even polling, they don't even, those people are just like people. A buddy of mine runs a network here in Los Angeles, and he's telling me that, the first thing we do when we want to see if a show is good, we take it downstairs and we ask everybody who works in our company. Yeah, but 98% 8% of the people working your company have gone through the same schools, or, friends of who are already in the company got them the job. It's like just asking the same person. That's why I feel like taking polls where you don't have an accurate group to take them from just doesn't end well. But yeah, it's kind of fascinating that the polls are always 50-50 now, and that behooves the media the most because it keeps people arguing. And that's not every case. I understand that. Onward.
It's a 50-50 divide, similar to what you're seeing with bipartisan affiliation and what people are doing there. You have the Charlottesville issue and just a lot of division in America right now, in the U.S. And the media is highlighting it. The media is supposed to be a tool that helps inform us, but it's certainly changed into something different to where it's entertainment, and it's ruining people, and it's giving us all false impressions of what's actually going on.
That's true. It's a good point. And I feel most bad. I appreciate you calling. And these are some good points. And I feel most bad, and that's not the right term, but I can't think of it right now. I feel most bad for seniors who are older, who are in hospice, who are, maybe their spouses passed away, left for heaven or wherever. And they've always thought that the world was a good enough place. And they thought that maybe they're leaving the world better for their children, or that they raised their kids right their whole life, or did the best they could. We'll say that. And then now here you have, and they don't realize that the news has turned into this, that the media has turned into this element that's not reliable, that's not just sharing information. And that's sad. That's sad because they think that then, I bet that causes a lot of depression in them. A lot of new senior depression because suddenly the world that they thought was a better place that they were leaving behind, it probably isn't as bad, but it looks that bad, and they don't know the difference. Maybe because of senility, because they're not as in touch with the vibe these days. They don't realize that, some of what the media is doing is not healthy. But I agree. The polls are 50. Let's keep them 50-50. That way things are dividing. And I think that we are better than the media makes us out to be, than the news makes us out to be. I really do. And I think that these are good times. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I had lunch with Howie Mandel a month or so ago. And, he's been a friend of me for a few years now. And he said, this was right when the Charlottesville stuff happened. And he said, I'm happy that this kind of thing is happening. And Howie's Jewish, I think at least half Jewish, if you can even just be half. But he said, I'm glad this kind of stuff is happening because now at least you know who people are. Before maybe you didn't know where the guy across the street stood. What his thoughts were, what his real feelings were. But at least now there's at least a vibe where you do know, some people are coming, feelings that have been hidden under people's brains are coming to the surface and making people think and making people act, but I appreciate that call. Let's keep it cruising here. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. Talking about the NFL players kneeling. Now, I'm coming from a place of white privilege. I'm a white dude. So obviously I had white privilege growing up. My dad was, he was the 10th of 10 children.
Ooh, 10 out of 10. Dang, boy. That's that Postmaker's dozen, boy. 10 children. Onward. Postman's dozen. Onward.
Lived in a 2-bedroom house on a clay road in Alabama.
Oh, y'all got to get asphalt, man. If you don't have any asphalt, hit up some gypsies. If you got any gypsy friends that live out there in the Midwest or whatever, they'll sell you some bad to probably decent asphalt. Onward.
When I was born, he was making minimum wage, and he was supporting my mom and 2 other kids. He suffered from depression and anxiety. He died in his early 60s from drinking and drugging. But you know what my white privilege was is when my dad told me, son, I don't care if you grow up to be a ditch digger. If you do grow up to be a ditch digger, you'd be the best damn ditch digger there is. And that's my privilege. My dad told me to work hard. What I'm afraid is happening with these NFL players. You got these young, impressionable kids looking up to these guys. They're kneeling on the field, and the message they're taking home, the message these kids are taking home is, someone's out to get me. I can't do it. Why even try? There's a whole system against me. Why should I even try?
I appreciate your call. That's an interesting take. You know, if you're a child at home, if you're a black child, maybe even if you're a mixed child, I don't know. I mean, I'm not these children. I don't have these children. But could that affect the way, if you see, even your heroes saying that they don't have, that maybe your race doesn't have a chance? Or if you catch that vibe from some of this, could that be negative for them? Could that make them not want to work as hard? It could be. It could be. I appreciate your call, and I appreciate that thought. Let's move on to another one. And look, I'm happy to have you guys' calls and thoughts here, man. This is a big topic that a lot of people had thoughts on. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. My name's Shay from Indiana.
Thank you for calling, Shay. Indiana. And actually, I just got a call recently said that Indiana was not the home of the Ku Klux Klan, that it was actually somewhere in Tennessee. So I have to look that up. Wherever it was, bummer. Onward.
I served 12 years in the Army Infantry, and
thank you for your service. Onward.
I understand protesting, and I'm not unaware of the strife that African Americans go through with police officers in certain areas. And I agree, there needs to be something done. Police officers need to be vetted better, or trained better. Or, sometimes they're just putting crazy people on the streets with a gun.
Yeah, that's true, man. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. You wish that these guys got paid more. You wish that teachers and police officers and public service, those people got paid more. You also have, decades of police going into neighborhoods that are extremely scary, going into extreme high crime areas. So probably a lot of, PTSD from past experiences. I can't even imagine. In addition to racist cops, in addition to the fact that racism exists. And, there's a lot of thoughts on it. Onward.
But for me, when I see people kneeling at the anthem like that, you got to think about why we do the national anthem to begin with. Is it just an unknown ceremony? No. We're doing it to raise, to understand where you come from and the liberties and the freedoms that you have, because people did die. They lost limbs. They lost lives. They sacrificed their minds so you could live in a place like this.
That's a powerful line. They sacrificed their minds. It's a good line. Onward.
And I completely agree. I think we need to fix things. Things do need to be fixed. But if you're going to use your platform, use it for good, use it for positivity, and let's figure something out, and let's make people aware. Doing a senseless act by just kneeling, it just causes division and hate. But that's my high horse, or my stand. Thanks, Theo.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, it makes me. Yeah, I mean, are we helping? Is this helping? Are we finding solution? Because I don't think the media doesn't care if we find solution. If we solve the problems in the world, let me tell you who doesn't benefit. Probably the news networks. Can you imagine if the world were good and comfortable? Would we even turn the news on? If we knew that everyone was doing okay? It makes you start to ask yourself, well, why do I even watch news? Am I addicted to the hatred? Am I addicted to the, to the negativity? Am I supporting it by the things I watch and the things that I, click on? I don't know. I do not know. All right, let's hear a little bit more. Let's take another call right here.
Hey, man. Why we don't have camels here in North America? Seems like they can live in the rest of the regular world in sand and hot sun, and just the sun burning the sand on their feet, and they can get all that water in them. I think they would do a lot better here. And
dang, bro. I appreciate the call. Yeah, why we don't have camels. Why we don't have camels here in America. That's a great question. You know, it is. Because, you know, you go to some of these other countries and they have camels. You go to India. Oh, you'll see a camel. Look out in the woods. You'll see a distant camel. You go to where else? You go to Africa. Oh, they got camels out there. If you got a hat made out of reeds, made out of reed pieces of greenery, a camel will eat your hat. First thing, you standing there and you got a little bit of shade on your head. Next thing you know, the sun is hitting you and you hear something chewing nearby. And that's a camel just ate your hat. So they have camels out there. But in America, you know, you get around here and it's not like that. You know, and I think part of it is because we're not as natural. I mean, dude, you go to Africa, you get a rental car, they might have a fucking sloth in the trunk. You know? You go to Nairobi and you get a pair of pants and you put them on, and they might have a couple of they might have a lizard or something in the crotch of them, an exotic lizard. So you get a lot of these different countries, you're going to see some animals. In America, you might just get a couple of pesky raccoons out there, you know, throwing dice and fucking talking shit, you know, and just fucking around in the garbage, making love by the garbage. You know, we don't get as many wild animals. Now, you get up into different parts out there to Montana, you know, you might get some tigers. You know, if you get you might get some mountain cats, even some aggressive lesbians if you hanging out by the gas station at night. Because I got accosted by a lesbian out there one time. I think it was pretty much a lesbian. Aggressive lesbians. Now, I'm not saying anything about all lesbians. This was an aggressive lesbian. Had a Dokken t-shirt on, this old band, Dokken. But they have, you know, we don't have that natural, we don't have those camels running around, and I don't know why. I do not know why at all, but that's a great question, man. Why we don't have camels in the United States of America. Let's get them. Talk to Trump, dude. Trump will get you some fucking camels, bro. All right, let's hit another question here. Oh, and this question had to do with last week. It was if your girlfriend wanted to sleep with somebody else, if you got that offer, because someone on Snapchat last week called in with the offer they got. Let's hear this.
Theo, what's up, baby? Calling from, I'm going to keep my name out. I'm calling from Toronto, Canada.
Toronto. Almost made love to an Indian woman up there one time, or pretty much a woman of age, but just outside of that. And I went to Halloween. I celebrated Halloween up there one time with the ShamWow guy, my buddy Vince Offer. We went to a party, and he ended up meeting a white girl that I think he ended up making love to. Onward.
Canada. Just wanted to talk about last week. If you've let somebody else sleep with your girl, or vice versa, maybe your girl's letting you sleep with other chicks, whatever.
Yep, you can find that on our 925 episode. Onward.
I don't know what if I've practiced the dark arts, as you put it. You put the dark arts. I'm a proponent of the dark arts. I might be an elder. I don't know.
Okay, see you out there, man. You Edgar Allan Go, boy. Onward.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend, you know, it started off totally healthy, as most relationships do. Everything's fun, everything's new and exciting, whatever. And as time went, you know, you learn something about your girl. She's a freak. My girl was a freak. She's crazy. She was into crazy shit, and so was I. And you kind of awaken the dark arts in each other. So, okay, now you want to do threesomes. And then it turns to, well, why don't we just have an open relationship?
Okay, so now you open relationship. And that's when anybody can come through and shoot your dough. You know, that's open season. That's hunting season. And that's when you're sharing your crops with the neighbors. And that's when it can get a little ornery when you look across that fence and see somebody else eating your vegetables. Onward.
Okay, so now we're shaking our heads like, oh, is this is this normal? Like, can we do this? How do we do this? And it practically ruined our relationship. In the end of it, I was letting her.
Oh man, I was almost hopeful for a second that you figured this out, that you had this. Let's keep going.
Sleep with other dudes. She got jealous and didn't want me to sleep with other girls. And then eventually, because of some deep-seated, weird, dark art that I had in a part of me, I started to like that she was sleeping with other guys. And she would film it, and we would watch it, and it was like a part of our relationship. But
wow, boy, that's crazy, man. I mean, you're in there then. You know, if you're watching videos of other men with your lady, you know, that's very, I want to say Roman, but that's even past that. You passed Roman. Wow. Let's hear more.
Man, that's not healthy, and I knew that, but I just couldn't help it. You know, things progress. You just get bored with the regular shit. So, I don't know. It kind of ruined our relationship, I think, in the end. She won't admit to it, but I think that's what it was. But yeah, let me know what you think about that.
Oh, man, look, I'd be lying if I didn't say some of it sounded fun. You know, if it doesn't sound fun to be just, you know, crawling down that dirty staircase on your hands and knees. You know, and you know that each step below you, and you're going face first down that staircase, because when you get naughty like that, you face first. You know, as a man, you're going face first. You're taking all your feelings and all your senses. Your senses are all in your head and in your fingertips. So you're taking all those face first down the stairs into the darkness. And you know that the devil built that next step. You know, each step built by, carpenter Satan, or carpenter Lucifer. You know that each one of them steps getting warmer and naughtier, slipperier. But you keep going hand first on your knees down that staircase, and your nostrils and your brain filling up with scents, filling up with the scent of musky women, you know, in Best Westerns and, you know, in private account credit cards. You know, in cheap things of cocaine and, and people wearing fucking little outfits on their dick and all kinds of stuff like that. And you getting into some wildness, man. But you keep going, because that's the temptation. That's temptation, man. That's what that is. And look, I feel you. That can be fun, but that doesn't end well. That's the thing. That doesn't end well, or we would all probably be there. So now here you are, you know, you're a little bit burnt out. You sound like you got some issues from it. But I just say keep climbing, man. Turn around. Keep walking up. I'm not saying you don't have to always be good. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not saying God's going to save you. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is that it doesn't sound like the safest environment. And that's why the struggle is where it is. That's why the struggle is to stay in the healthy relationship, or even if it's, to try and make a relationship healthy. That's why we're battling it out with your spouse. That's why, because you fighting that front lines. You ain't out there eating buttholes off the internets, you know, of random strangers off the internets with their buttholes. You're not doing all of that, you know? And that's hard. It's hard not to do. It's hard not to do. All right, let's keep it cruising.
Yeah, hi, Theo. Hey, I just got done watching the 925 episode, and
thank you for checking that out.
As far as the kneeling at the national anthem, it just needs to stop. Entertainers have opinions. Football players need to play football. The NFL needs to play football and stay out of the political realm. Trump needs to shut his mouth and become a real president and stop talking a bunch of shit to people to get them stirred up. It's not helping anyone move forward.
I agree. I mean, just as much as the media does it, Trump does it as well. I mean, it's almost baffling where that comes from for him. I mean, it's just like a baby. You know, it's like watching a tall baby with Twitter. Onward.
So this needs to quit. It needs to end. People need to come together and fucking stand up at the anthem and move on. You know, we play football. That's what that's about. Entertainment. So I just wanted to pass that along. And
I appreciate that.
And as far as sleeping for payment, I'll tell you what, I was married 21 years, and at the end of my marriage, I would have paid someone $100 to sleep with my wife just to get her out of the fucking house. So keep up the good work.
There you go. That's love right there. And that's love, and that's divorce, and that's what happens there. You tip somebody who'd come in and take your wife out for a night on the town. All right. What else, man? I got some more stuff about girls and dating. We're going to get into that next week. I feel like we've already been into a really long episode so far. We got a bunch of great calls, and more of them will be on next week. I'm probably going to get into some stuff about dating. I've been dealing with some stuff in this therapy I've been going to. I've been dealing with some stuff about my issues lie when I'm unable to connect in a relationship. You know, I even get caught up with, I got intimate issues, you know, when it comes to being in love and getting, you know, a comfortable, consistent level of intimacy. That stuff, whoo, that's hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for a lot of people. Dude, I'm telling you this. I'm sitting in a doctor's office the other day, and I'm talking to him about something that's okay. And I mentioned this, you know, just in passing, just about I was going to a therapist. And out of the blue, this man closed the door, and then he started telling me the problems he was having at home. And this is a doctor. This is a doctor talking to me about the problems he'd been having, you know, issues he having in his bedroom. And so, man, it's just they got people's out there dealing with that. People out there dealing. We afflicted, man. We're all afflicted. And that's okay. We've all got a problem, man. You know? But you're going to be out there hiding it? You know? Or you going to be out there just saying what the problem is and how do you think we can solve it? Because you could wear the disguise if you want. You could put on the disguise. Everything's fine. You know? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. That's the disguise, man. That's your Halloween, bruh. That's your Michael Myers outfit you wear every day. Or you could take off the mask, man. You know? You know, you could take off your mask and see if daddy recognizes you. You know? You could take off that mask and show up. Show up with no mask on, no outfit, no costume. Show up to whomever, to your boss, to your spouse, and let them know what's going on. Let them know what's popping off inside of you. You know, be vulnerable. Sometimes you got to show up and be vulnerable, man. So, and that's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing for men to do. You know, and it's a tough thing, I think, for ladies, too. Ladies getting confused. Ladies used to be our maps. You know, I think at times for vulnerability, we would watch them and we would marvel at who they were. And now sometimes we've been led in directions where we don't know, we don't know where we stand. We don't know who's who anymore. It's a little bit confusing. That's okay. We just got to keep navigating, you know. So if you Lewis, find your Clark. You know, get you a Clark. It can be a buddy, can be a loved one. You know, get vulnerable with a friend, man. Share. We just fucking out here, dude. We out here. We out here in space. I don't have any shame, man. You want shame, you keep shame. I'm not holding on to that shit anymore. I appreciate you guys calling, man. I'm going to take us out right here. This is Spencer Jacob Growl Band with the song that I love from them, man. Celebrate Living.
Celebrate living, celebrate misery. You know that soon we're gonna die.
Thank you guys very much, man. You guys be good to yourselves.
Let's have some fun while we all die. Celebrate dark days.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great. Hi, sweetheart. Here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
Oh, no!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.
3. Happy Monday, everybody. It's Monday, man. You didn't think it was? Come on.
Celebrate living.
You've been living under a rock?
Celebrate misery.
Come on, man.
You know that soon we're gonna die.
You've been living under a bad calendar?
Let's have some fun
while we all die. Man, thank you guys for being here with me this morning. Happy Monday, October 16th. I'm in New Orleans. I'm in Baton Rouge. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so if the audio sounds a little bit weird or, loud or unloud or, tinny. Sometimes they say that with audio. It sounds a little tinny, a little reverb. I do not know. I don't know about all the different, specifics. But I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, man. So I'm out here at my brother's house, and I'm in the dining room, and this is where we're doing the pod this week. So happy Monday. Hope you guys had a good one. I was in New Orleans for a wedding. Okay, I fly in Friday into the Big Easy. We'll go to this place, Pascal's Manali, right? And it's a place where you can get seafood. And seafood, you know what that is, man. That's different food out of the ocean or out of water. They say seafood, some of the stuff they serve in Louisiana easily could have been extradited from a ditch. You know what I mean? They got some things like, fuck, if they catch a dog that can swim, they will grill that thing up in some places in Louisiana. So the word sea, I think, is, that could be used or not used. Things in water or things from water, I think, is more applicable. I mean, somebody will grill up a fucking spare tire if they find, and call that seafood, But we're at this place, Pascal's. We hadn't even gotten to the hotel or motel or wherever we're staying. My buddy and I flew in. My buddy and his girlfriend flew in on the same flight. I'm dropping them off at their Airbnb. And everybody's hungry. We stop at this place. We order some food, right? We're sitting there chatting. Suddenly, somebody across the room starts choking or choking to death. I love, that's the thing about choking. It's like, people, it's either you're choking or you're choking to death. There's not a lot of, middle ground when it comes to choking. And this person was choking, I guess, to death. It would take a while still to see. So at that time, they were just choking. I guess somebody has to die to be actually choking to death. Even though sometimes people are like, I was choking to death, but they didn't die. Sometimes people say I was choking to death. And if you don't die, you weren't. You were just choking. But anyhow, whatever. This person is choking. And they stand up, and everybody's just like sitting down. Like, pretending somebody's not choking maybe to death. And her husband, this lady's choking. When she had kind of I don't know if you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, but Uncle Rico, you ever seen that dude, his uncle, who could throw the football over the mountain? she had a haircut like his. You know, kind of a haircut that had been blow dried way too long. You ever see somebody their hair has been blow dried way too long and it seems just lightly, not crisped, but just it seems almost fried a little bit, you know, air fried, not fried by something wet, but fried just by air. It seemed her hair seemed kind of air fried. Anyhow, she's choking, and her husband, I guess, is trying to help, but he's just like massaging her shoulders. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And so I'm trying to make eye contact with him before I try to get over there and help, because I don't know if this dude, you know, I don't know what their relationship's like. Maybe he's, you know, trying to kill his wife or something. I don't know. But I don't want to fuck up their whole, you know, whatever they're trying to do. Or he's, you know, if they're, maybe she's horrible to him and this is, you know, he, you know, planned ahead on this sandwich and this is, you know, the meal that's going to take her out. You know, maybe he can't afford a cruise. You know, a lot of people take their spouse on a cruise and they push them overboard while they've been drinking. Maybe this guy's like, you know, I'm going to save money on a $600 cruise ticket and just hit up this, you know, $14, you know, oyster po' boy here in New Orleans. Anyhow, so she's choking. This dude's like massaging her shoulders. So I'm like, I'm going to stay out of this because I don't want to, you know, ruin whatever money this dude's trying to make or, you know, whatever. And then the waiter comes in. Everybody else is just kind of chilling. I stand up and I'm like, does anybody know, you know, what's going on over here? And it's a small room we're in. There's only probably 13 people in the whole room. And there's about maybe 12 tables. And one of the tables is a 5-top. So, I mean, this lady's like spitting and like, I don't know if you've ever been choking or not, but it's pretty intense. If you've ever been like choking possibly to death, that shit is intense, you know, and your face and your throat starts making all this extra saliva. You know, you start turning, your whole head turns into like a water slide. I mean, you start dripping out of your eyes and your nose and everything because your body's trying to lube your whole universe up so you can get this, whatever's inside of you, so it'll pop out. And this lady's, I mean, dripping. She's like crying and there's, you know, grease coming out her pores and like, you know, her ears are like saliva's just swirling out her ears and everything. I mean, this lady's lubed up. I mean, you'd think she's ready for some type of gangbang if she wasn't choking possibly to death. Man, I tell you, dude, this waiter comes over and he straps on the Heimlich, bro. This dude straps on the Heimlich. And he was the skinniest waiter. You know, I'm not accusing anybody of different, you know, extracurricular activities, but I've worked on the pizza line. I used to make pizza with a guy on methamphetamines. And them boys can put in work, you know, and they don't weigh much. I mean, this guy I worked with would wear a belt, but he would have to tie the belt, you know, and his waist was basically just a forearm with a spine in it, you know, and some organs and some lean organs. I mean, this boy was lean. And so I've been around these fellas that's jacked up on them uppers, you know, that they call it high diving, you know, when you're on them uppers constantly. Because you living at 60 feet, you know, when your world is just a bouncy board up there. Anything can happen. That fall can be fast. And this guy, this lean fella, starts doing Heimlich on this lady. And this lady's she's a middleweight, light heavyweight maybe. You know, she's like a Buster Douglas kind of, if you will, if you want to use fighting terminology. She's sort of a Buster Douglas. And as he pulls on her, his whole body is coming up off of the ground. So this guy is Heimliching this lean fella, dude. He's Heimliching her. It looked like a skeleton trying to fuck like a big animal. As he's pulling, his whole body is bucking on her. Like his feet are coming up off the ground, his momentum. And she's just, I mean, and suddenly there's just kind of like that, and just this big splash of like, you know, whatever it was, whatever it jacked her system up, just just kind of just attack. It just flew. I mean, the head liquid flew out of her eyes, nose, and mouth. You know, the trifecta. You know, I mean, it was artful almost. It was something you'd see at Disneyland around sunset when they do the big water display, and the water kind of jumps from one hole to the other, and they're playing the music. You know, be our best, you know. And the music's, you know, everybody was kung fu fighting, and the waters are jumping whoosh, and landing in other holes, and it's like this perfect thing. It was like that, man. It hit the air, and it was just like whoosh, and just splashed, and then everything was done, and it was over. And it was awkward, man. It was so awkward, and I didn't know what to do, so I started a round of applause, because otherwise I'm thinking here. Well, first of all, the lady lived. You know, if somebody lives, hell yeah. You know, even if her husband had a plan, or he was caught up in the dark arts in his brain, you know, or he was thinking about murder, he'd been Googling stuff that was dangerous and would come back to haunt him, you know, on a Dateline episode, whatever. You know, I mean, I could see some, you know, fella thinking about taking his wife out via sandwich. That's a $17 kill, you know. But this guy, you know, I got started this round of applause. There's a round of applause going, and that kind of broke the awkwardness, man. And I've been there. Let me tell you, I have been there. Okay, I've had reactions. If I have. And this is like, and I'll know now because I'm giving this secret out to people, but if I have tuna fish and Gatorade, same time, just straight tuna out the can, albacore. You know, none of the cheap shit. But if I go albacore, that white meat, you know, that front meat, that breast of the fish, immediately, if I have that with Gatorade, my throat shuts down. I mean, closes up. I remember being in a hotel in Chicago. You know, I'm hitting myself with that Gatorade, that thirst quencher, and I'm popping off I got one of them bags, them cold bags of tuna fish. Because sometimes they used to have for a while, and they may still have them. Because it's hard to get into a can of tuna. I mean, I remember seeing a homeless guy beat open a can of tuna with an umbrella once in Santa Monica. And I'm like, fuck, that dude, you know, that's aggressive for some fish. You know, for some low-key fish, that's aggressive. So I know that I'm not that kind of guy. You know, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not the guy that beats open a can of tuna for, you know, with a weather prevention utensil. But when I mixed it, so that for a while they had it in a bag, and it was just a bag you could seal tight. You would open it, and you could get to the tuna right there. Immediately, there's a tuna. It was kind of this metal pouch. That's a better term than bag. So I was in my hotel room. I'm running late. I just hit the gym. I want to get, you know, electrolytes and get my protein in. So I hit up a 7-Eleven on the way to my room, grab me a bag of that snack fish, that low-key snack fish, and a Gatorade. And the Gatorade, man, right when it hit my throat and I had the tuna in my mouth and throat, my shit closed up, locked. So I'm in my hotel room and my shit is locking, bro. You ever see like on those movies where somebody attacks like or somebody, you know, tries to, I think like maybe Star Wars, where somebody tries to get onto the, you know, the space vessel, and the doors start closing whenever they're, you know, finally are stealing it or whatever, and the sliding doors are just start locking down, like whoosh, whoosh. It was like that. I mean, my throat started locking. I mean, no entry. Dude, I am reaching down my own throat. I don't know if you ever reached down your throat for something, you know? I'm trying to think what I would compare it to. First of all, never would I think I could get my hand down my throat until I have to. Dude, I was just trying to hold my throat open so I could get air in and out of it. Man, my throat keeps locking. I try to call the phone, try to call the front desk. I can't. I'm like, go into the hall, right? Into the hall. I have my toothbrush in my hand because I'm trying to push that in my throat and like hold it to the side to hold my throat open. Go into the hall. There's a man, dude. A man. I'm pretty sure. My eyes were watery. Could have been a, you know, I mean, it's Chicago. It could have been a lesbian. Could have been a hardy lesbian. You know, a third degree lesbian. And I am pulling on this person's pants, just pulling on the front of their pants by their pockets, like on my knees, like basically motioning this toothbrush down my throat. And at first I think the dude I think it's a man now, pretty sure. The more I remember, my memory's getting stronger. Because I have one of those memories that gets stronger. You know, some people's memory that gets weaker. My memory gets stronger. So I'm pulling on this man's front pockets and everything. And at first I think he thinks I'm caught up in some, you know, some cocaine, and I'm probably doing some shit off a back page, and I'm running some illegalities, you know. I'm probably in my room raising turtles, you know what I'm saying, bro? I'm probably in my room, you know, making homemade pesticides and eating fucking barbiturate soup up in my hotel room. You know, I'm probably making bathtub gin and fucking, you know, making towels out of, you know, a dead woman's hair or something. He probably thinks I'm caught up in something. Because if you run out into the hallway and you're motioning the toothbrush down your throat, you know, that has a kind of like an oral sex kind of vibe to it. And you're crying and everything. But eventually this guy got what was going on, dude. And this man is holding a toothbrush inside of my mouth to keep my throat open. And after about maybe 45 seconds of that, it passed. It passed, bro. And then this dude is like, I gotta run. And literally took off. Like, I don't know if he was like a Clark Kent kind of dude that does this shit, you know, is just wandering around looking for people to help. But he helped me and took off. Could not even get his information. Could not even get his information, man. Fuck, I could barely get his gender or sexuality. So that's what happened right when I got to New Orleans. Somebody was choking to death or possibly to death. And, you know, and they didn't. And then they sat and they finished eating. They had dessert. And they had other things, snacks, you know. And I kept trying to catch the husband's face. He seemed, I mean, what was he going to do? Massage her shoulders as she died? Which would be so awkward. You're dying. Somebody's giving you like a nice massage. Interesting. But outside of that, I went to what else did I do? I went to a wedding here in New Orleans. That was cool. You know, we did the second line. I don't know if you've ever done the second line thing. I put it up on my Instagram this weekend on the video. And a second line is where you hire some adult men. And it's usually about like 85% of the men that do it are African American or black. And they play the big instruments and they play the jazz music as you walk down the street. So your whole wedding party gets in the street, and the bride has the umbrella, or the man, if you like a gay man, and you are the fancier, you know, if you're the glass slipper of the crew, then you the one hold the umbrella, and you get out there and you roll down the street, and your whole wedding party is behind you, and they have these little white like little kerchiefs. And you just shaking that kerchief around like you're surrendering. And honestly, it looks like a bunch of people surrendering, but having fun at the same time. It looks like a bunch of alcoholics kind of surrendering. So we did that at the wedding. And the wedding took place in an old swingers den. The wedding took place in this old swingers place where swingers used to do, you know, sex, I guess, and adult activities. And swingers, I know in LA there's some pretty intense swinger parties. I've heard about them, you know, and I've actually been invited to some, and I haven't gone yet because I'm not going because my back's pretty hairy, and I'm not taking a hairy back to a damn swingers event. I just do not have that kind of confidence, you know, and my butt gets kind of hairy too, and I'm not taking a hairy ass into a swingers thing. So I need to get probably, you know, waxed up and maybe do some, you know, some different leg exercises and some reverse leg curls and stuff before I'm going to go to a swingers thing. But I wouldn't mind checking it out sometime. One time I was in Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri, and that is swinger country. You know, that's a good place to taste another man's wife, or, you know, to, you know, really spray out on some, you know, local spouse that's not yours, you know, or to be wild. And we went there, me and this other man, we went there. We were just comedians, you know. We just show up, and we're supposed to stay at Lake of the Ozarks for one night. So we check into the hotel because we're doing a comedy show there. So we check in at the hotel we always stay at, right? And he's the feature, I'm the headliner. We're not together, we're just friends. Fucking honestly, me and this dude didn't even know each other. We just know we're both comedians. And we both drove down from the airport in Columbia, Missouri. We get there, we get to the front desk. The guy at the front desk goes, are you guys girls only, boys only, or boys and girls only? And I'm thinking, well, what the fuck is the third option for? Like, first I'm like, what's going on? But then I'm like, what is the third option even? And then we realize that it's a swingers convention. It's taken over the hotel for the weekend. And it's a beautiful little resort hotel. It's right on the water. It's a nice place to probably, be by yourself or, I guess be with somebody else's spouse or whatever. But then we start seeing people just bringing in all these little, at hotels and motels, they got the trolleys where you put all your goods on them, you wheel them up to your room, and a lot of people bring their own food and everything. And these people were bringing everything, dude. I mean, you would see everything was from, Costco or one of those everything was Kirkland, like Kirkland brand, that big brand, like bulk. Kirkland brand, Rice Krispies, Kirkland brand lubricant, Kirkland brand like pool toys, they had everything. And these people, none of them to me were visually appealing, right? They weren't appealing to me. But it was swingers, right? And then you saw they had this one lady was bringing in the black guy, and you could tell he was the fucking hammer, You could tell this dude was flying. He might have gotten paid to come here and perform. He was that dark dagger, that air meat, that they was FedExing around the fucking country, probably to come in and just satisfy the regional, that regional coont. You feel me? So this dude's hitting the airways and probably just straight up drilling in different areas around the country. He's popping off, he's sprouting out, he's rooting down in some local, local wives. I mean, you could already see, like, these guys probably had posters, that all the white men were going to be like, go get him, black guy, like Terrence forever, shit like that. Because this dude was about to pop off on some local wives. But you had people bust, just people with wheat thins and all kinds of big snacks. And I'll tell you this, man, I wasn't into it at all until, I'm not even joking, till I saw the wheat thins. I love wheat thins, man. I don't know who did wheat thins or Pringles, but they fucking killed it. Now, those are kind of snacks that would make me want to be at a swingers thing, If you, I don't care who I land in. If they got a bowl of wheat thins or Pringles next to their orifice, or a little side tray next to the body, dude. You know what I'm saying? Put some floaties on daddy's dick, because I'm going in. You feel me? Because I will perform if there is a side item of wheat thins or a Pringles. That's a feast. That's a feast for me and my libido. That keeps me up. But anyway, this place, they're like, oh, well, if you guys aren't here with the conference, then you can't be here with the swingers convention. And we're like, well, what the fuck, like, we have to be here. There was just a mistake. They booked us at the wrong place. But I'm also like, what the fuck still does girls and boys only? Like, that's not even, I guess that means you're open for whatever. I guess it does mean something, actually. But anyhow, everybody gets a bracelet. He said, you can't have a bracelet. You can't participate in any activities. But if you want to come down and watch the bingo night, you can. Like, whatever. We're just going to be here for one night. So we go do our comedy show. We get back we have a couple of beers at the place, at the bar, the comedy spot. We get back to the hotel, and we're like, dude, we got to see, we got to go over the mountain, to see what he could see, because that's what the bear did. Sometimes you got to be out there. You got to be a baby bear. Sometimes if you smell honey, you can't just sit on your hands. If you smell honey, you can't sit on your hands, because you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get any sweetener in your mouth if you just sitting on your paws, are you? Sometimes you got to stand up and open your mouth and follow your nose at the same time if you want to land your face in some of that fucking local sweetener. So we got up, and we start walking around and peeking downstairs. And downstairs, they are doing the biggest game of, what is it, with the red and the blue and the yellow? It's like the handprint and foot, and you spin the dial. Jeepers. You know what I'm talking about. They're doing the biggest game of that I've ever seen. There's like 40 boards hooked together. There's like, in the middle, there's 19 people who are no longer playing the game accurately, right? There's an old person spinning. There's one woman who is still playing the game, right? Still playing, like, right hand B or whatever it is, or right hand green. And then there's 19 people in the middle just, I don't even know what to say they were doing. I don't know if they were. Some of it was sex. It was in the very middle. There was something vibrating in there that was just going off. And that could have been the hammer. That could have been the dark artist down there. That could have been, Deandro or whoever they had brought, the hammer. That guy could have been just DeWalt. That could have been DeWalt or Stahl, or Black and Decker. Whoever it was, that fella was popping off down there. You could just, and that's where the heat was coming out of, and everybody else was just riding off the vibes. And there was a lot of just puffy adults, a lot of seniors, a lot of people in their 60s and, and even 70s. A lot of that, Tampa cleavage where you see a lot of women have that tan right in the middle of their breast, but it looks like they're probably going to get cancer there. Kind of that San Andreas fault. You can kind of see that they had some gold chains, a lot of bad gold, a lot of bad local gold. And then, we peek and then we scoot, right? We open the elevator. We're thinking we're going to go up the elevator. Man, that thing was just a vertical fuck trolley. That elevator was stacked, smelled like, oh man. Smelled like somebody had left Chinese food in their trunk overnight. I don't know if you've ever done that or not. Because it's kind of still got a little bit of a sweet smell to it, but that if you eat it, it'll upset your stomach. It'll make your knees weak if you eat any of it. And that was the smell that was inside of that elevator at that swingers convention that we were not supposed to be at in the first place. But hey, that's one of the gifts of the industry. That's one of the gifts of comedy, to end up in environments like that. But here we are. We are here in whatever day it is, man. I'm going to get into some calls because I got to go to sleep in a little bit because I got to catch a plane in about, let me see. In 8 hours, I'll be on a plane back to Los Angeles out of New Orleans. So I'm going to catch that drive. But I had a great weekend. Spent it in Louisiana. Got to see my beautiful nieces and nephews today. Got to see my mother. Haven't seen my mother in about a year. So that was really nice. She has a husband that got Alzheimer's. So, he's always talking about the war and different wars. And so if I see him, I always kind of reference, I'll say, welcome back from battle or some shit like that, stuff that makes him feel good and makes everybody feel good. So that's something that I like to do sometimes, just make him feel like a part of, like they gave him, y'all gave him hell, or, stuff like that. So pretty interesting though. I had a good time and went to my niece's soccer game briefly and then just played with the kids on a trampoline. So it was pretty joyous, man. I got nieces and nephews all, from age 1 to 9. So it's just, man, you get to see how kids are and they were all happy today. So that really lifted my spirits up 150%. And no future swingers. I don't think none of them seem like they might get caught up in all of that, but we'll see. All right, man, let me tell you guys what's going on. I got a new tour shirt. You can check it out at theovon.com/store. It's a tour. It's got all the dates from this past year. It's pretty sweet. So go there, grab that, support the podcast. You can also support us on Patreon where you can catch extra footage and extra episodes And that is patreon.com/Theo Von, and that link will be in the YouTube info part right there. Please subscribe if you're listening. If you subscribe, and if you're not subscribing, hit up the subscription. Become a part of. And if you got any advice or guidance, constructive criticisms, you can always let me know. Become a part of the podcast. We're shooting a new pilot for Comedy Central. So also, if you live in California and you have some issues that are going on with feeling emasculated in any way, or you feel like something that's going on in present day society is testing your manhood, hit us up on the hotline, 985-664-9503. We're looking for some people to be a part of that, but no fake shit, no bullshit. Keep it real, man. Keep it 100. All right, let's tap into a couple of calls here. Thank you guys for being a part of things. Let's take it here.
Hello, Theo. Man, I'm just watching your appearances on the church. Those are two of the funniest fucking podcasts I've ever seen in my life. I think I've watched them like 10 times already. Fucking incredible. But, it's pretty...
Oh, wait, hold on just a second, man. That guy called in, but that call was so long I edited it down a little bit. Let's take it right here. Here we go.
Hello, Theo. It's pretty interesting hearing your perspective on white privilege. I grew up in a town of 500 in North Idaho.
500 North Idaho, that is pretty white. I know there's a lot of mining up there. They're probably just mining, even looking for anyone that is not white. Like, you have to dig pretty deep. Thank you for calling. Onward.
So I kind of get what you're saying. It's kind of a hard topic to get into because I think white privilege does exist.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it definitely exists. I'm just saying that in my life, I didn't get to sign up for it. I wish they'd have passed around the sign-up sheet because it was not a part of my life. Onward.
But, when I was on a dirt road, fucking my dad was a logger. Just white trash as fuck, People are sharing roadkill or whatever they shot that hunting season.
And logger, that's tree person. I don't know if some people think logger is somebody that's, taking dumps or whatever all over, but logger is somebody that captures trees. And I respect loggers, but also at the same time, pretty easy job. If you're a logger, you're hunting trees, dude. That's easy. First of all, how hard is it? Think about it, dude. I could think right now, if I really thought about it, I could tell you where there's probably about 80 trees. I could even probably draw them for you and draw you a sketch of them, an outline. So you'd have information. So not that tough of a job, but I respect it. Onward.
Yeah, I had like 7 people in my class. One girl, she was a goddamn squatch, too. That girl was 6 foot when she was 10, ready to fuck some cock, man.
Whoa. Okay. You got a real cock squatch in your locality, huh? Let's hear more about this.
Wild girl. Wild girl. She did it, too. Somebody had to, keep the neighborhood happy, keep the boys from stabbing each other. Big Carrie did it. Big Care Bear. Sickness, squishness. Good stuff. Anyway, I'm super stoned, but thanks for the podcast.
All right. I appreciate the call, man. Yeah. If, you had a girl named Big Carrie that was taking on sex locally for, to keep the neighborhood happy and to keep things at bay. And I think there always is somebody like that. I think there always is somebody like that in every environment, in every time period. There's some gal who's taking one for the team, and sometimes taking the team for one, who is, who's just, comes into their sexuality, at a point maybe others aren't, and really just pops off and makes it happen for everybody locally. And I remember catching up with a couple of those gals at different places. We had a gal in our neighborhood who was a swim team. She was big on swim team, and she had shoulders like just like a 2-legged bison, brother. She just had shoulders like a fucking 5'4" French bulldog, man. She had shoulders just like somebody in a wheelchair who lived up a hill. You know what I'm saying? She had shoulders like that. And she used to set off a bunch of nuts. She was always setting people's nuts off, setting off the men's nuts locally, and kind of taking one for the team at a certain age. So I think we should have a time sometimes when we respect those types of people, you know, because you know, sometimes you need that. You know, sometimes you need to take that edge off as a group, as a neighborhood. And maybe that's what these swingers were doing. You know, I'm sitting here judging these people, and I judged them at the time, but I mean, if to be 50 or 60 and, you know, and be pale, and to say, you know what, I'm going to take these thighs out and down by the, you know, down into the Ozarks. I'm going to take these thighs out there and set them, you know, and warm them up. You know, I'm going to get these capillaries going and get the blood flow going. You know, that's pretty brave, actually. It's a lot braver than some of the stuff that I'm doing. So maybe I can actually learn when I think back on some of these things instead of, you know, maybe this is where I'm learning not to really, you know, judge these swingers, you know, but that sometimes a specific area needs to just, you know, needs to let out. And that there's gals out there like Big Carrie that you just mentioned, sir, and that there's groups getting together just to pop off, you know, just to blow seed and just, you know, feel that vibe. Praise God, man. Let's hear a little bit more. All right.
Hey, what's up, Theo, man? A long-time listener here. My name's Davey, and I'm out of Kansas City.
Davey. Thanks for calling, man. I lived next door when I was growing up to a boy named Crazy Davey. And he used to invite one of the neighbors over, this other boy named Pug, and then he would hide on the roof when Pug was walking over across the street, and he would shoot him with pellet guns. But that was, you know, just people, you know, kids being kids, I guess. But that was Crazy Davey, and he was very, very, very lean and liked to punch at stuff and punch at people. And I remember him doing sex in the woods locally. Anyhow, onward.
I know you guys may have some preconceptions about Kansas City, but it ain't that bad. But I remember you saying something about Colin, about what it means to be a man. And for me, I'm a little confused because I look around at all my friends and everybody on the internet, and you know what the average male is looking for is they're looking for a woman. They're looking for a woman to get involved with and then marry. And you know what, Theo? I got no aspirations of that, bro.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing, man. I want to hear a little bit more about this. Let's continue.
I just, you know, I don't want to say it's an asexual type thing, but it's definitely a thing to where, you know, getting laid and getting a girlfriend is not my top priority. I mean, in fact, it's pretty far down on the list. I'd rather, you know, go home and go to work and just have a good day and play some music. And, you know, I just kind of wanted to weigh in on that and hear what your thoughts might be. And maybe there's other ones out there who just really don't put getting laid on their top priority.
You know, I appreciate this call, man. I really do. This is something that's been on my mind and my heart even recently, and even on my groin and loins. And that is asexuality, you know. It's asexuality. And I also want to say, I don't know if you were doing an impersonation, but you do a good impersonation mildly of that scientist that's in the wheelchair, the famous wheelchair scientist. I'm not sure what his name is. I don't know. They call it, you know, he's that black hole. You know, he's that David Blaine of space. You know what I'm talking about? That little fella in the wheelchair. Beautiful man. But anyhow, I've felt like this, man. I've felt like this before. You know, when all these people are chasing this leg and out there, you know, I've felt times where it's like, am I doing this just because it's something I'm supposed to do? Do I really even care? What really is my drive? Like, what really is my desire, you know? Am I just being sidetracked? Because sometimes I would find that I'm chasing women not even because And oftentimes I would find, I don't even say sometimes, oftentimes I would find I'm chasing women just because it's a habit. Not even because I'm trying to look for the perfect lady, or that, that I'm searching for love. I'd find sometimes it would just be this habit that I fell into that I guess maybe it was my environment or my peers. I'd listen to other people and I don't know if it's conquest, but just, well, of course you want to feel attractive to women. But there are times where I'm like, is this really what I want? Like, what do I, do I really have any? Because sex a lot of times just bores me, man. I just think it's so boring sometimes. You're just banging your bodies into each other, just bang, 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 Here comes a crazy pump right here, bang, bang. And it's not even that much joy. It's just like, yeah, it just, if it's not like one of you blows up at a certain point and just confetti flies out of you, and you win or you defeat them, or one, it's not like, I think if there was some prize or something, like if you bang somebody enough, like a trophy, like, popped out of their ass or something crazy, I think that would be more. Or if there was an old, some guy who never graduated high school, smoking cigarettes and chewing on his last 2 teeth, who gave you a prize, like a big stuffed animal or a fish with emphysema or something, I think if they had something like that, you would find more joy in it. But otherwise, I have trouble finding joy in that sometimes, and maybe it is. Maybe these days we're becoming more asexual. I mean, we don't need it to survive that much for sure. It used to be you needed a child to help out. You need a child to collect wood or get berries. You can't make a pie without berries. Where's the fucking berries, So you have a son. You got little Carl or Clark or whatever your son's name is, and he's out there getting them fucking fruits. So you can, cover him. You cover him in the distance with a rifle or an archery piece. And you're doing your thing. You're being the leader. But now, do you need a kid, Do our joys come from humans anymore? Maybe that's part of it, bro. I appreciate this call because I love this thought. I love this question. Where do our joys come from? Is it even other people? We definitely lock ourselves away for sure. We find like it's definitely we've become separatists. It's like, and it's not good for you. It's definitely not good for you as a human. Now, as a robot, it's probably great for us. But yeah, it's like, what else? Like, are we so addicted to, things are fucking addictive. That's the thing. I think I would love probably spending more time with people if I wasn't so addicted to some of this other stuff. I get addicted to dude, I watched a show on Netflix 2 weeks ago. Next thing you know, it's 11 days later and I've watched, 12 episodes. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? It's like you're in a show coma and you're just going through episode to episode. It's just some of it's so addictive. It's so, it's so shot in such a great quality and some of the content is so good. You can get addicted pretty easy. So I could see how sexuality, like, who needs that? I just get, I got 9 4K episodes of Ozark. I feel like my brain just came for a month. I'm good. I don't need another human. So I think that's something you have to fight if you really want it. But maybe it's not for everybody. And I also don't think it is for everyone. I think you have a little misconception there in the thing that everybody's out there looking for somebody. I think these days a lot of us are out there. And though we may be looking for somebody, I think somewhere in our mind we're also wondering, do we really want somebody? Or do we really need somebody? Or are we just under this old tradition that has us looking because we feel like that's what we're supposed to do? We're at it's a weird generation right now. It's a weird generation, but I appreciate the call. All right, let's crack into something else here. Here we go.
What's up, Theo? This is Mackenzie from Mechanicsburg, Ohio.
Hey, Mackenzie from Mechanicsburg. I can't remember if you called before or not or if I played this call, but let's go.
I was just wondering, I know you have a problem with pornography. I believe I also have a problem because I've been with my girlfriend for about 2 years now. Probably only had sex 10 to 20 times. And I think it might be because of pornography. I tried quitting. I went a week. But then I come back with a vengeance and just jack off like 5 times in one day sometimes.
Wow. So this gentleman from Virginia, and that's Virginia's for lovers, bro. But from Virginia is saying that he's been married for about 2 years. Is it married or just girlfriend? But they've only had sex about 10 to 20 times. You know? And then sometimes you go in these fits where you jacking off, you spraying out. You know what I'm saying? You petting the dragon and that dude's firing off. You know, blowing Skittles out into the universe. You know, you busting them straight up galactic shots, boy. Your dick's having a straight up DNA asthma attack, boy. And spraying out, killing local invisible fires with that splash. You know what's good. And sometimes, you know, you go in these fits. Because masturbation is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? If masturbation were a person, he would be wearing a dark, dirty cape. With dirt on the bottom of the cape and dirt around the top, around that brim dirt. And he would be saying nasty stuff to you. And wanting you to come over under his roof. You know, wanting you to come up under his cape and just be nasty. So you got to watch out. You got to watch out for masturbation, man. And you need to set some kind of regards for yourself. You know, some type of barriers. You know, if you got to tape your arms down at night. Or you need to get heavier sheets. But you might need to do something, you know. Or get a neck brace. Get a weighted neck brace and wear that while you rest. But if you popping off constantly on the internet, I'm telling you, it's a dirty, addictive behavior. And and people constantly will second guess me on this. This shit is killing men, bro. Okay? Think about it. What if they had a soup and they're like, oh, this soup is fucking amazing, but it's also killing you? Would you eat that soup every night? Well, that's what you're doing. If you hopped up on these pornographists, you know, if you hopped up on these local high definition, you know, buttholes and everything, you know, and these splashy crotches, then that's what you're into. So you need to get it together. That's all I'm saying. Because the pornography is dangerous. It is dangerous. It's a dirty road. It is a dirty slope. And I'll be damned if you're going to be able to, you know, wear white shoes and do it at the same time. And you know what I'm talking about. But man, I'm sorry that you're having that trouble because I've been right there. I've been in the depths of it. You know, I'm 2 days clean right now off that jerk. And I'm happy about it, you know. It's tough. It's tough, dude. But, you know, I mean, we're talking tonight about the asexuality and about the group sex, you know. And the tag teaming and the, you know, summer slamming that puss. You feel me? Like these people out in Lake of the Ozarks are doing, these swingers. And if you are a swinger, I want you to hit that hotline, 985-664-9503. I'd love to know a little bit more about what that universe is like. But I'll say this to you, buddy, and I appreciate you calling, is that I wouldn't evaluate it on the number of times you guys have sex. You know, I don't think that matters that much. I really don't, you know? Because I've had relationships in my life where I had some decent sex, you know, when I was young. You know, and I think I've always thought that sober sex is for children. You know, sober sex is for children. It is best served for two people under the age of 18, you know, consensually together. But, you know, I don't think it matters that much. If there's love there and you guys are connection, that's what matters. Because you're coming up on the future of your life. You know what I'm saying, man? That fucking gonna die out. That fucking is going to die out, dude. If you went off the interstate somewhere and you walked into the woods and you looked around, I bet you'd find a lot of people's libidos, a lot of married couples. Their fuck history is just milling out there in the middle of nowhere. Because that's tossed aside at a certain point. I think you keep some sensuality, yeah. But that's not what it's about. At a certain point, it's about a connection. It's about moving forward. You know, it's about having a family and those sorts of things. You know, I mean, to me, man, at my age and at my time in life, I mean, I've been through some young trim, you know. I've been caught up. You know, I've been caught up in some of that, some of that soft wallet out there. But the thing that keeps me and gets me the most these days is that warm hug from somebody that I love. somebody that cares about me, and that's what makes me feel the most. So I wouldn't be hard on yourself. If that's what's going on in your relationship, I wouldn't be hard on yourself, you know? And if you're doing jerking off, though, I would find some ways to curb it, because I think that you think it's not helping you. And there are groups you can join online, NoFap. You can check that out. You know, there's a lot of books about it. There's audio tapes and stuff you can listen to. You know, you can go to SAA, Sexual Addicts Anonymous. There's groups. You can get a sponsor. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but, you know, at 9:30 p.m. when you're about to spray down, you know, when you're about to just, you know, clean your sink again, you can call up a dude you barely even know and tell him to talk you off of that lotion ledge. And those men are out there. All right, let's take another call here.
What's going on, Theo? This is Alex calling from Medellin, Colombia.
Ooh, Colombia, boy. Ooh. I am glad I was not born in Colombia, you know, even though my father's Nicaraguan, you know, and I'm Polish Nicaraguan. If I grew up in Colombia, and I've said this before, I would have got an 8-ball for my 10th birthday, and I never would have seen 11, boy. I'd have been a couple grams deep, dude. I've been eating balloons and hiding fucking slices of cake in my ass, boy. Onward.
I was wondering what your thoughts were on relationships while traveling. I pretty much travel for a living, different countries, and it seems like I'm always just cycling through females, but still wanting that relationship bond. And I was wondering how you juggle stuff like that. Thanks for everything, and keep it up. Bye.
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate this call. Well, I'll say this. It's hard to know how you'll behave until you're in a settled place. You know, and I found for a long time I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to settle down, but at the same time I'd be out there, checking out the local flavor, you know, if you feel me. But I would always be angry at myself. I'd be like, man, you know, you want to settle down, but you keep fucking up and doing this, or not fucking up, but you keep being out there, you know, sharing yourself with trollops, you know, and you know, dazzling around with these fucking little, these little fucking glitter bandits, you know, and people that, you know, chicks is just already got their toothbrush in their purse, and they're just trying to, you know, meet a man somewhere late at night at a Holiday Inn or a Days Inn and just jerk them off, you know, and you already, you know, you're caught up in some of this. You know, and some of it you'd find a little bit of love here and there, but a lot of it was just lust. You know, a lot of it was just libido fireworks and snap crackers. You know, a lot of it was just a lot of that. So you weren't really getting some, but I would be hard on myself. I'd be like, man, you keep, you know, I thought you were trying to find somebody. I would always be hard on myself. So I'll just say this, man, if you're going to be on the road, it's going to be really tough. It's going to be tough not only for you, but it's going to be tough for whoever you meet. So in the meantime, I think, you know, just date if you're able to do that. You know, just date. You know, if you get into somebody, I don't know if I get it too serious, because it's going to be hard. And you could easily end up hurting their feelings and hurting your own. And I guess, I'm just saying that for me, man. I mean, in the past, I was not able to do it. You know, I get on a relationship or get, you know, caught up. Some lady, you start holding hands and watching a favorite television show, and next thing you know, you don't mind if she got a few whiskers or whatever, and that's where you start feeling some love. But then you're out on the road and you still find yourself, trying to talk to the lady that work at the Save a Center, you know, or checking groceries at the Whole Foods, you know, even though she's skinny and her body's a little bit lopsided. Because maybe she got a hip issue, some dysplasia, but you still find yourself flirting over by the oranges. And, you know, it's just, you could put a lot of pressure on yourself, you know. So for me, I could never do it, man. I was always lying and I was always on the run. And I feel bad about it a lot of times. For me, I just couldn't do it. You know, I would get myself caught up. So if you can do it, man, more power to you. I think it just takes a strong man, you know, and it takes a brave woman. And vice versa, you know, because they're home alone a lot and they're susceptible to meet somebody. So for me, if I could go back in time and do some of those things over, I would probably just stay in more of a dating environment. You know, and as I've gotten older, that kind of stuff's gotten a little bit easier to deal with because I'm more of an adult. But when I was younger, man, that shit was, that was hell, boy. That was straight hell. But look, I appreciate you guys calling, man. I hate to jump off early tonight, but I think I got to. I think I got to, dude. Let's hit maybe one more call here. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. Connor calling in here from Louisiana.
What's up, Connor? I'm in Louisiana right now, man. Onward.
I was just calling in with a little problem that I have, and a pattern that I've noticed that I partake in, or have partaken in over the years when it comes to women, is I will be really interested in a girl, and let's say, she begins to start showing interest in me.
Okay, you're interested. She shows interest. Onward.
And there's this weird thing that I do where when she begins to show interest in me, then I begin to lose interest in her.
Could be a little bit of homosexuality, maybe, but let's go here.
And let's say we go on a date or whatnot, and I'll end up, when she starts showing initiative, I end up getting really turned off, and I don't know what it is. And this happened with a girl a few months ago. I went out with her, and we went and did a few things. I don't want to give too many details, but we went out.
Probably talking about drugs, or actually you could be talking about laser tag or something. Sorry, onward.
On a little date. And it went okay. And she hit me up to hang back out with her later on, and I just kind of self-sabotaged. I don't know why, and I kind of just stopped showing much interest in her, stopped answering her text messages, and then she kind of just went quiet after that.
All right, sorry, we had an audio issue there. The batteries fucking shit the farm or whatever. Jesus, I'm in my brother's living room. I hope I'm not keeping them up. I hope one of the kids isn't awake. They're asleep right above this floor. If they're hearing this, dude. Onward.
Well, about a few weeks after that, I started thinking to myself, shit, I fucked up. That was a really pretty girl that I went to school with, and we have a lot in common. Why did I do that? Well, the other day I saw her out with another guy that I know, and it just really made me feel like shit, because, kind of pangs of regret. Why did I sabotage that fucking situation? I have no idea. I was thinking maybe you could, shed some light on the situation as to why I seem to, A, be turned off when a girl starts showing interest in me, and B, why do I have this tendency to self-sabotage my relationships, even if it's somebody that I think I might like.
All right, I appreciate the call, man. You know what? I can relate to some of these behaviors. Because it seems like you are just going to the next thing. Once a girl shows interest, that means it's a girl that you can get, that you are able to get. So then you're out looking for something next, So that means either you are, you're self-sabotaging. You're not able to make yourself happy, And so it seemed like maybe you're not looking for the right things, You're probably not even able to see what some of these women are really like if you're able to move that quickly from one to the next, And this is just from experience, man. I've missed out on some decent ladies in my life because the second that they were interested, or wanted to catch a little bit of this root, that I'd just leave them in the forest. I moved right along. There's something sometimes that's, once somebody's into us, we're no longer into them. And I think sometimes you'll just keep going through this until you find that a situation that's equal. But I think it would be nice to maybe give yourself a chance to see what it's like if you stayed in it. If you just stayed in some of that. Let me listen to the end of your call one more time so I can see if I can relate anymore.
We have a lot in common. Why did I do that? Well, the other day I saw her out with another guy that I know, and it just really made me feel like shit.
Yeah, it's just like you want everything. It sounds like you want it all. You just want it all. And look, man, I was there, dude. I'd be at a party, and we'd get the beer, and then once we had the beer, we needed to be at we just get to a party, and if the party was good, I'd be like, oh, there's got to be a better party going on. What do you mean there's a better? We fucking lived in a small area. We were lucky to have any party. There weren't no better party. What do I think? Somebody got a cannon somebody got a cannon, or somebody doing fucking mule rides, or they got free cocaine out there. I was always thinking there was something better. And always wanted more. There always had to be, then this, Oh, we got a van? Oh, then we should get a water slide, you know? Oh, we got a water slide? We should get a fucking, we should get a, you know, a damn grenade. You know, it was always, you had to, there was something, I needed something better every time. Nothing was ever enough. Nothing was ever enough. There was never any, oh, I'm just happy to have this. So maybe some of that's it, man. And then, of course, you're going to feel bad because your brain's telling you want everything. Your brain's telling you, oh, you got to have everything. You know, you should have this. You should have that. Oh, she likes you. Oh, there's got to be somebody else that likes you. You know, it sounds like your brain is taking control of you. So it might be nice to find some ways to try and battle that brain. You know, find some gratitude. You know, I make a gratitude list, man. I probably do it 5 days a week. It just reminds me to be a little bit more, it slows my brain down a little, to be a little bit more grateful for what's actually in front of me, or at least think about it. And it can be simple things. You know, I'm grateful for so-and-so and a reason why. That's what I write. Like, you know, I'm grateful for Diana, you know, because she, you know, she stopped by my work the other day and brought me a snack. You know, when she does that, it makes me feel like somebody cares about me. Like gay shit like that, man, but it also makes me feel good. You know, when that kind of stuff happens, you just got to remind yourself. So you got to remind yourself, I think, of things that are, you know, a little bit of gratitude, because that can slow you down. And then you're not constantly thinking of what else can I have, because you'll have a little bit more appreciation for things you do have. Now, with that said, you also might be homosexual. You know, you might be into cutting up some of that male butt. You know, you might be thinking of some of that, that man, you know, that man back, you know. You might be thinking of just, you know, being deep into another man and just kissing his spine at the same time. You know, I don't know. There also could be some of that. So if you want to investigate, maybe, you know, and I'm not saying you need to be with another man, but if there's a friend you have who is open to at least just lying next to each other, you know, in swimming trunks or in, you know, some loose-fitting jeans, something like that, and just seeing what it feels like if even the sides of y'all's arms or sides of y'all's legs are next to each other. And I would take that in a slow measure, but if the side of your arm feels okay next to him, then touch your leg against his leg. I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm not saying genitalia, but I'm just saying, you know, feel that vibe out, because you might have that homosexual activity going through your blood, and you might want to, that might be something you're into. Because in the meantime, you'll find women forever. You know, of course, it's not this woman, it's not this woman, it's not this woman, it's not any of the women, because your libido might be hunting for a man. You know, hunting for that, you know, more like chromosome. You know, something, you know, somebody whose body mirrors your own. And that's going to be probably a male body. So that could be it, man. So that would be the two things I would try maybe to see what's going on. I would try to be more gracious, you know, for what's going on, people you're meeting, you know, and I do that by having a gratitude list. Or I would try homosexuality and see if that fits you. You know, that might be your glass slipper. But we've talked a lot about it tonight, man. You know, we've talked a lot about it today, or whatever day it is, whenever you're taking this in, about sexuality and what's going on. And I think we're a little bit on a new horizon there. You know, and I think you have to really ask yourself, what do you want? And not be afraid to try it, you know? If you want to try, you know, you know, everybody's, you know, we all service you know, we all fit somewhere in the sex world. You know, some people like, you know, tons of sex. Some people don't like any, you know. But just don't let the world or the environment or somebody else tell you how you should be sexually, because that's where you start going astray. And I've been there. You know, I remember actually one of the first times I ever partied on drugs, I was here in Baton Rouge. And I caught me some cocaine, and somebody said it was performance-enhancing drug. So I went for a run. I'm thinking performance-enhancing, I'll go for a run. And I ran 8 miles on a couple grams of cocaine. You know, I'd pull off this runway, this, you know, track I was running on, you know, or this, just went all around the city. And I would pull off and do me a couple bumps out in the, you know, out in the palm fronds or out in the woods, and then jump back on that track and keep running. And I was wearing a pair of orange Umbros, you know, and just running. Dude, I was running so fucking fast, boy. Because I'm thinking this shit is performance enhancing. And I'm about to up my ante. You know, I probably did a damn 4-minute mile, son. running on cocaine and Umbros. But half that time, I was probably thinking about leg, thinking about trim, thinking about ladies. We all got something that motivates us, We all have somewhere where we fit in the sexual universe. And that's okay. But I think it is cool. I think it is good and healthy to ask ourselves what that really is and be confident in it. If you want to try something new, try something new. And if someone thinks you're weird for trying something, fuck them. They're not brave they're weak for not trying it. Because it's a wild game these days when it comes to sex, And I think that everybody, to each their own. But don't be afraid to be asexual. Don't be afraid to, to get on that elevator, that vertical sex trolley. Even if the black hammer's in there, putting that white crotch to sleep. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to get out there. All right, man, I got to shut this down this week. I'll see you guys next week. And I'll talk to you guys soon. There will be links at the bottom of the episode on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for your support. Have a great week, man. Thank you, guys.
Celebrate living, celebrate misery. You know that soon we're gonna die. Let's have some fun while we're alive.
All right, man, you guys be good, man. Be good to yourselves, huh? I bet y'all deserve it, man. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great. Hi, sweetheart. Here's it Theo. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
No!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.